Life after football. For a lot of players, it means going into punditry. Some turn to coaching or working in the game in other ways. But what about the rest? Some former footballers turn their sights away from the game, and there are a few big surprises. First up, from rainbow flicks to pancake flips. Ex-Chelsea and Southampton defender Ken Monku switched up his footballing career to buy a Dutch pancake house. He bought out the shop, which had been his favourite pancake spot as a child, and before long he was mixing the batter and getting behind the stove. Next, Everton legend Thomas Gravesen swapped out the high stakes of the Premier League for those of the poker room. He made over 150 appearances for the Toffees and won the Scottish Premier League with Celtic. Turned out the Danish international was pretty darn good at poker. He racked up a reported £100 million from his Las Vegas adventures. Remember former Chelsea goalkeeper Petr Cech? Turns out football nets weren't the only goals he was pretty handy in front of. After retirement, he became a goaltender in ice hockey. Same skills, very different surface. And he even won a Division 2 title with Guildford Phoenix. For ex-Liverpool centre-back Daniel Agger, it wasn't just fancy footwork that was in his blood. He was also pretty good with his hands. The Denmark international turned to tattoo artistry after he hung up his boots. He'd qualified as a skin artist while at Anfield, and he then became the co-owner of his own tattoo company as well. It's not all glamour for ex-pros, though. 1966 World Cup winner Ray Wilson set up a very different kind of business. He became an undertaker after he retired. Finally, not many people can say they've won both a World Cup and starred in an Oscar-winning film. In fact, there's only one person in the entire world who can say that. Frank Leboeuf, the former Chelsea defender, was part of the 1998 France squad who won the World Cup. He ended up marking Brazil's Ronaldo in the final and helped his side to a 3-0 win. But Leboeuf had already begun acting on the side while he was playing football, and his biggest role came some years after his retirement when he landed the part of a doctor in the Stephen Hawking biopic The Theory of Everything.
I embrace the career of acting, so I want to learn more. So seeing lots of movies is a part of my job.
To be honest, with all the dramatic diving in the game these days, there's probably tons of ex-pros who've got the acting skills to make it in Hollywood.
Good evening, everyone. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. My name is Pete Graves, alongside Arsenal fan, elite podcaster, the brilliant Joel Beya is here as well. We've got absolutely loads to get through tonight. Coming up, Chelsea, as we've just been hearing there in the news, have set a Friday deadline for offers of £120 million or more for clubs interested in midfielder Enzo Fernandez. Manchester City heavily linked, of course, but will they or anyone else pay that kind of money? We'll be chatting about that, of course, and what could it mean for Chelsea's summer as well. Aston Villa last night narrowly losing 2-1 to PSG in the UEFA Super Cup. We know how good Paris Saint-Germain are, of course, but what about that Villa youngster Brian Maggio? Without a doubt, one to keep an eye on this season, and does it change Villa's feelings as far as the transfer window is concerned? We'll get the latest on everything that's going on elsewhere in the world of transfers, as well as talkSPORT's Ben Jacobs joins us live, and we'll also be chatting about Manchester United. Has their summer been a little bit underwhelming so far? What further business should they be doing now they are back at the top table in the Champions League? This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Great stuff. Welcome along, everybody. Joel, good to see you, my friend. How are you? How's your holidays been? You've had a lovely time?
Mate, I'm doing well. It's been a fantastic holidays, but I'm a cheeky guy. I've got one more holiday next week.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I know, man. Rio's paying well. But
I can't get enough of it.
Nah, I can't get enough of him either.
Where you been?
You know what? I've been to Cyprus, right? And I was in Verona, Italy last week.
Right.
Here working today, because they said Pete was on. I was like, got to do the
Obviously,
shift.
yeah.
And then next week I'm doing Turkey.
Wow.
Yeah, Antalya.
World tour.
I know, man. But then when the season starts, I'm back straight to the PFAs, doing the red carpet, doing my job.
Taking in some Champions League games as well.
Oh, 100%
Your
this
passport
season.
looks unbelievable with like stamps on.
Mate, the players, the papers are full up now.
What about Arsenal? I mean, we'll obviously talk later about Arsenal. We'll talk about Bruno.
Yes.
What do you make? I mean, are you pleased with Arsenal's summer?
There's only one Bruno at the moment in the league, the real Bruno Guimaraes. And I'm so happy that obviously he started playing. We're going to talk about it later on, but good start yesterday for sure.
Yeah, are you impressed?
100%. He makes our midfield better.
Yeah, you just feel like he's probably, if Arsenal are going to handpick someone who'd work well in that midfield, it's probably him.
Exactly. And you could see already he's clicked well and the fans already loving him and he brings that comeback spirit that we all love.
Okay, it'll be fascinating to see how he gets on. Aston Villa last night, I think ahead of the game, there was a little bit of concern around supporters that they've had to sell so many of the best players that they had to take on Paris Saint-Germain, one of the best teams in world football.
Yeah.
They lost 2-1. But put in a really strong performance. Before we get into it, let's just hear how it unfolded last night on talkSPORT.
Two-way wide left. Kvaratskhelia has rifled it into the roof of the net. PSG, with their first serious attack, take the lead in the Super Cup. Begin with an in-swinging ball. Up goes Banjo!
There you go.
The 17-year-old has scored! Remember the name! Brian Banjo! Doué looked offside. He's curled it in. Beya is checking it.
There you go.
And the referee has given the goal. Only just onside. It ends in disappointment in Salzburg for the Premier League club. But for PSG, it is yet another cup in an almost overflowing trophy cabinet. PSG win the Super Cup. PSG 2, Aston Villa 1.
Yeah, great commentary from the guys last night in the final. I listened to it on talkSPORT, and I have to say, this says their disappointment for Aston Villa, but Maggio.
Yeah.
Where they got him from? I mean, look, out of nowhere. Obviously, Villa fans will be aware of him for a while, but I was like, listening to the game, I thought, wow, you could hear his chance after chance after chance. Young play, I think Ed might go down, but kept going, got his goal. Brilliant.
Yeah. Now, before we big him up, I did tell Gabby that they were going to get smashed 6-0.
Okay.
And I told him, do not go to Salzburg, mate. Make sure you're doing a talkSPORT shift because it's not going to be good for you. And I'll tell you what, I was kind of right, but we have to big up Aston Villa. They did a fantastic job yesterday. Yeah. I say fantastic. I really thought it was going to be a bad scoreline for them.
I did.
But yeah, you're talking about Brian Maggio. For me, very impressive. Already, you could smell the fact that he could be England's number 9 really soon because
England are desperate for one.
Exactly. You look at Kane, and then after Kane, the drop-off's a bit mad, isn't it? You got Ollie Watkins, who good player, but hasn't really been the same in the last 18 months.
Ivan
Toney, yeah, he's in Saudi. You can tell he's not really a favourite of Tuchel. And then after that, there's not a lot,
No, that's right.
You've got Solanke as well, but it hasn't really worked. But for me, I think Brian, the only thing I don't want us to do, and I think we do this very well here in the UK, in England, we overhype up someone before. I mean, the kid's not even really played in the Prem properly yet. We're like, oh my gosh, he's England's number 9. Like, we need to relax. Let the guy make mistakes. He's going to make mistakes. I mean, I don't want to be the person that highlights it, but if you did watch the game, you'll know that just before Desiree Doué scored, he gave the ball away. He gave the ball away. I'll probably say just after the 18, maybe 24 yards away from the box. He tried to touch it. Touch was a bit mad. Next thing you know, boom, PSG counter score. So he's still going to make mistakes.
I love that you're saying let's not big him up too much. That's exactly what we've just done, isn't it? We're guilty already.
We're guilty, 100%.
He was in Kane's replacement and everything, and then we're some backtracking. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got a few Villa guys that I really dislike. I've got my former coach, Andy Brogan, who listens. He listens to talk.
And if you're listening,
and if you listen, I told him I said yesterday he's only gonna be with you for 2 years.
Right.
Then he's gone.
That's the way the Premier League works, isn't it? Right?
He said to me, if Arsenal want him 200 million now, you can have him on the cheap. That's what he said. But he looks like a good player. Looks like he wants to play for England as well because he was playing for another nationality.
It was Luxembourg.
Luxembourg before, isn't it? So I think very exciting player. And credit to Aston Villa because despite losing their players, despite people like me saying they're finished, looks like they've got something to look forward to and also in the Champions League this season.
I'm pleased for Aston Villa. I mean, I think, like you say, lost a lot of good players, but a couple of really decent performances from some of the young players last night. It wasn't just Maggio, there were others, but he was really good. I think what impressed me the most was he missed quite a lot of chances early on. A lot of young players, their head would go down, they'd disappear into the soil. But no, he kept going, he got his goal. Fair play. It'll be fascinating to see whether he can seriously compete with Watkins, of course, and Tammy Abraham this season at Villa Park. What about the Super Cup, though, for you, mate? Is it a proper game? Do you consider it a proper game, or is it one where it's more of a pre-season friendly?
Well, I'll tell you what, if Arsenal won it, mate, I would have been doing cartwheels here.
Yeah.
It would have been the biggest game in history. But I have to say, no, it's massive. It is. Because, like I said, if my club won the Super Cup, you will have to call me Super Joel Beya. Like, there's no doubt about it. I'll be all over it, excited. And you know what our fan base is like. We would have let you know that we won the Super Cup.
Oh, you're without doubt.
Exactly.
You'd have been leading the chance there.
100%. But I do really think it's a big game. And, credit to Villa getting there in the first place. And also, putting in a good representation of themselves, I have to say.
Is it one of those defeats for Villa last night where actually there's more benefits come out of it? Like you say, you were predicting them to get battered out there, right?
I said 6-0.
There you go. And they've gone out there and they've not only kept it tight, they could have won the game on another night. If Maggio takes a couple more of those chances, they could have easily come away victorious. The goal that wins it for PSG is a big VAR check. So it was tiny margins. Villa could have come away as the winners last night. And I just think, even though it's a defeat, some defeats actually have more benefit. And I wonder whether the Villa fans and Unai Emery and the whole squad's actually had a big lift from that result.
I think that it's definitely learnings. They can learn from it. And look, let's not be silly. PSG did have their B squad out there as far as I'm concerned. But overall, I would say. But you are right in saying that, yes, there's definitely lots of learnings from that. And I think they needed something to be a little bit positive because if you think of it, like you said, they've so many players leaving.
Well, Morgan Rogers gone. Luca Dina gone. Yuri Tillemans gone. There's others have gone on loan as well, gone back. They were on loan last season. Yeah. They needed something. I just wonder, there's still players to come back from the World Cup. There was a couple missing last night, like the goalkeeper Martinez, who's so important. Yeah. Then Manzambi, who's come in as a new signing as well, looks like a good player.
Does Konza stay?
Well, that's you hope for Villa that he does.
Yeah,
of course you do.
They better keep him.
Because I think that selling three of your big players is hard enough to swallow for the Villa fans and for Unai Emery. If they have to sell a fourth, everyone knows I'm a Newcastle United fan, right? And it's been tough. We're going to get to Newcastle.
Does everyone know? Does everyone really?
Well, if you didn't, I'm officially announcing it here.
Okay,
Newcastle
cool.
United fan. But, okay. And I'll try and keep it as fair as I possibly can. But it's been a tough old summer for Newcastle fans. Tough summer for Aston Villa fans. Mm-hmm. And Newcastle. The reason I'm bringing it up is because Newcastle's manager Eddie Howe is gone.
Yeah.
And you look at Unai Emery and you think Unai's such a good manager. He's unbelievable. He's done a brilliant job. Yeah. And how long can someone like Emery, how long can this stomach having to sell the best players all the time? Something not right there.
I mean, he did sign a new long-term contract, and I thought that was really good because it states that, look, to the players, I'm here to stay. So it's going to be my way or the highway. I thought that was really good. But like you're saying, it loses a little bit of power when people go, all right, cool, well, you're not going to leave, but I'll leave if I'm good. So, and also someone like that, he was looking for a home, and in order for him to stay in that home, he has to be treated well, i.e. given the tools to win the league. Otherwise, it does end up like Eddie Howe. I mean, I asked you in the green room earlier, I was like, who's your midfield? And you said you're playing and Craig Hope's playing. Then I thought, well, there you go.
Well, listen, I might play. Craig Hope, I think I'm stretching it a little bit. It's stretching it a little bit.
Why?
I'm clearly a better player than him, right?
Yeah, what, double pivot, no?
Oh, listen, I do them for breakfast, man.
Yeah.
Look, we've got loads more to get through. We're going to take a quick break. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at Manchester City. Lots happening there at the moment. New contract for Doku, but is Rodri going to go? Could Enzo Fernandez be the man on his way in? We know that Reinders is on his way out as well. So plenty happening at Manchester City. Give us a call. Get involved, please. We are on 03717 223344. This is the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
talkSPORT reporter Max Scott has sent the callers crazy. He has done his top 10 clubs in Britain. Have a listen if you missed it. The highlights of it are there is no Chelsea and Tottenham in the top 10. Celtic are above Arsenal. Forest are 5th above Villa in 6th. No Rangers. So let's head to the phone lines now and get your thoughts on 03717 22 3344. Clive is a Chelsea fan, and before we say it in Clive, Chelsea is a big club for me, a big, big club. Morning, Clive.
Morning, Clive.
Morning. This guy's an idiot. I mean, he's going back saying about Brian Clough and Forest. Yeah, that's what they won then. But if you go back, he's saying, I mean, I'm a Chelsea supporter and they're a big club. But saying Man City weren't big before now is ridiculous. You remember Man City in the 60s, Franny Lee, Mike Summerby, they were a big
Colin
club.
Bell.
Always a big club.
Colin Bell, yeah.
What a player. What a player. You know what I'm saying? He's picking a little bit of history. You can't say Forest are in the top 10 clubs.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Well, when I think of Clive, when I think of big clubs, I think of support, travelling support.
Yeah.
You know, being up there with great players and challenging Europe. Maybe not necessarily winning it, but you know, they're big clubs for me.
That's right. Yeah, big clubs. Man City's always been a big club. Chelsea's always been a big club.
Welcome back. This is Transfer Insiders, and I hope you're enjoying the show so far. We're going to talk about Chelsea and Manchester City. This sort of almost midfield merry-go-round that's going on potentially at the moment, mate. Chelsea have set a Friday deadline for offers of £120 million or more for clubs that might be interested in midfielder Enzo Fernandez. Our City have been heavily linked. Now, the caveat to this is that Reinders looks like he's on his way, 60 million.
Yeah.
Rodri could be on his way to Barcelona. They projected £55 million today. 60 million possibly could do the deal. That's 120 million. Would you be tempted to go out if you were City and spend all of that on Enzo Fernandez?
I mean, I don't really. Maybe yes. The only reason being is because there's a relationship there with the player and the manager. If it was any other position or situation, I'll say no. But one thing about Maresca, one thing that worries me about Manchester City as a whole, I don't think he's a better manager than Pep Guardiola, but I think he has a special relationship with players. And not all managers do that. Some people, they're your boss, they're your coach, whatever it is. But he is one that seems to really, really, when he connects with someone, they will ride or die for him. And you heard the comments that Enzo was saying, even after he left. He was complaining, saying, you know, why did the club get rid of him? Like, he was devastated, heartbroken. It's like his son. So I think if he can get Enzo in that team, Enzo will run for a brick wall.
Well, that's half the battle won already then.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there'd be a temptation then for City to, and if Maresca behind the scenes is pushing to bring in Enzo, there's no doubt Enzo Fernandez is a quality player. Midfielder, brings goals to it as well. He's got that little bit of bite that you want from a centre midfielder. And for whatever reason, it just hasn't. He's just never seemed happy at Chelsea. He played well for Chelsea.
I don't think that's true.
There's been something certainly in the past couple of months. You think it was the Maresca departure that really created that sort of almost bad feeling? That
I think 100%. I think it was that. I think it was the Liam Rosenior times. I think, you know, it just wasn't stable. Whereas it looked like if they had kept Maresca, they could have gone on to do big things. You know, you become World Club champions. Everybody's letting you know, the likes of, you know, like Olivia Bazaglo, who always talks about it, you know, Kandi. They always remind you who they are, World Club champions. Have you had one? No, we don't. But in general, it did seem like if he had a bit of time, he would have been able to challenge Mikel and even Pep. I don't know what happened. To me, I just felt like he got the tip that he could become City manager, and he thought, yeah, I fancy that. That's what I think.
It felt a bit like that. Do you think there'll be much change under Maresca? I mean, obviously Pep Guardiola he's in the debate for one of the greatest ever managers.
I think he's the best ever.
Best ever. You're putting him ahead of Sir Alex and everybody
100%.
else.
I think anybody who tries to hold on to the Sir Alex thing, I understand, I respect it, but what Pep's done in multiple different countries as well. Yes, I know Sir Alex did it in Scotland as well, Aberdeen, I know, but what Pep has done, at Bayern, at Barca, at City, in his own way, it's unbelievable.
Joel's putting Pep number one. Get in touch with us 03717 223344 if you disagree with that. But look, I mean, he's definitely in the conversation, no doubt about that. But Enzo Maresca worked under Pep before.
Yeah.
So we're just going to see more of the same?
No, I mean, they've got different styles of football. We can see it already. Chelsea didn't play the way City played. They're definitely hard to beat. You can see how good they are in the counter. But it definitely wasn't tick-a-tacker type kind of Pep football, but I think what he does well as well is he gets the best out of those players, man. He really does on a personal level, whereas Pep's more of a headmaster. Okay, you play well, you get dropped. You don't play well, you get dropped. Players are always on their toes. They don't know whether they're coming or going. One season Diaz could be player of the season, next season he's dropped. You just never know where you stand. Whereas with Maresca, he has his favourites, and if you're one of his favourites, that's it. You're stuck with him, and you can see it with Enzo.
There's less than 3 weeks left in the transfer window, but it seems like there's so much still to be sorted out. One of the big talking points, not only Enzo, but it's the future of Rodri. We know that Barcelona are keen. Real Madrid initially, now it looks like Barcelona very much at the front of the pack for Rodri. £55 million rejected, expected to go back in with 60 million. City, it's hard for them to plan. They don't know where Rodri's going to be, if he's going to be there.
Why is it hard to plan?
Well, because you don't know if your key player's going to be there or not at this moment.
Well, if you're looking at the reports,
you're presuming he's gone.
He's gone. So you better start. You better start planning without him. Yeah, you got to do it quickly. But if you've got a Ballon d'Or player, you better make sure you get your money right for him as well, which is what they're thinking. And I think it's important, not because they need the money, but I think with City, with everything that's happened with them and their alleged 115, I think every penny counts. You want everything to be accounted for because it could make the difference. And if you're going to go in and buy someone for 120 million, right, you want to make sure that on the other side, when you sell, you're getting the extra 5-10 million. Do you see what I mean? You can't afford, especially with your alleged cases, to be £15 million short.
Yeah.
You got to get that balance right with the sponsorship and incomes, mate.
Yeah. Of course, to say City deny any wrongdoing in that, but I know what you're saying. It's
They're wrong, mate. I know you're going to be political, but I'm telling you from the court of Joel Beya, 115 charges, they did it.
Yeah, again, City, of course, deny any wrongdoing. But, Joel, with regards to Rodri, what is the right number? What's the right number? They've rejected 55 million. Yeah. What's the right number?
You know what? I think he's worth a lot. Even at his age, I think he's not old either. Like, he's a decent age. I would say, I would go up to say 80 million.
80 million with a year left.
Well, with a year left, it's a little bit different. But I still think he's the best midfielder in the world. So maybe 70, 75. You get him and you dominate for another 3-4 years.
Once Barcelona come in or Real Madrid, it doesn't matter who you support. You're a big Arsenal fan, right? Once they come
I'm off ski.
For one of your players.
I'm gone.
You're gone.
I'm Spanish.
Okay.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joel, I think most people do the same. You know, I see with you told about your holidays right at the start.
Yeah.
You love a trip abroad.
Don't get me wrong. I hate every player that leaves us to go for them. But if it's me, I start talking about my family.
At least you're on it. At least you're honest.
Yeah.
At least you're honest. Look, I mean, the other side of this is we're going to hear a bit more from Ben Jacobs on this later, but Tijani Reinders could be on his way out as well. So there could be a little bit of transfer kitty for Manchester City to spend there. But of course, if they do go out and spend it all on Enzo Fernandez, that's it. That's that cash gone. Would you do it?
First of all, I'm surprised that Reinders is going so soon. I saw a lot of potential in him last season. I know it didn't work. I thought they would have tried a little bit, longer. I don't know what your thoughts are, Pete.
We've got a caller coming in actually now.
Yeah.
Gavin, Leeds fan, right? Disagrees with you about Pep being number one. Gavin, over to you, mate. What's your thoughts? Welcome to talkSPORT.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. Appreciate that. So for me, although, yes, I'm a Leeds fan, so as you can admit, I'm diehard against Man United. The reason why I think Ferguson is the greatest of all time is because when Ferguson came into Man United, Man United weren't this big, massive, feared club. And the first few years as well, a lot of Man United fans wanted him sacked.
Yeah,
as Pep,
he rode the storm, didn't he, Gav?
He did, yeah. He weathered the storm and he came out. He's won. I don't even know what he's won. How many things he's done, but
not more than Pep, Gav. Not more than Pep.
No, I don't think he's won more than Pep at all. And I know people say it goes on accolades, but as a Leeds fan, people got excited when we signed Kiko Casilla as the goalkeeper because he had like 3 Champions League medals, but he never actually played in those Champions Leagues.
Yeah. And I think what you're saying, mate, is that Sir Alex had to build a team from basically nothing, whereas maybe Pep's inherited a lot of very quality clubs, already that were already built up.
That's exactly the point, mate. Exactly the point. And I don't want to take all away from Pep, obviously. I know it sounds like I am, because he is amazing. He's fantastic. I don't think he's Marcelo Bielsa.
I thought you might say that. I was going to ask where Bielsa might rank in your all times.
He is up there, mate. But it's the same with I do like Mourinho as well, because he's gone to clubs that weren't always top of the pops.
Mourinho in there?
I have to interrupt. Gav, why do you want him to start from scratch? Why should he? If you've won the treble with Barcelona and you've gone and you're a top manager, you're ranked number 1, why do I have to go down and drive a Fiat when I could just go into a Bentley? Why?
I do like that. But if we're talking the best of all time because of tactical ability and managerial ability, we'll never know.
Why not? Clearly,
I want to see him at a lower club.
Gav, he's gone to different countries with his style, implemented it to the point where the whole English pyramid system plays it from the back. Have you seen Watford play it from the back, mate? They've been doing it for the last 6 years, and it's awful, but they still do it. Why do they do it, Gav? Because of Pep Guardiola.
Gav, basically, there's two.
Marcelo Bielsa.
Gav, there's 2 types of people in the world, right, mate? There's the kind of guys that turn on Football Manager, like me and you, Gavin, and we pick a team probably in League 2 or the Conference League to bring up the league. And there's people like Joel who log in and on day 1 they just take the Real Madrid job.
I'm straight for the cash, mate.
They do, and I get that, guys. I get that. I'll just leave you one quote that Pep Guardiola said.
Please do.
When Bielsa got sacked, and he said, if you give Marcelo Bielsa Barcelona, his Barcelona team, he wins everything.
Yeah.
Pep said, if you give me his Leeds United, they would have never got out of the Championship.
I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, I think you're right, and Gavin's absolutely right. And to say that Pep Guardiola spoke so fondly about Bielsa, and I think he learnt a lot from him. And I think there's a cluster of managers, isn't there? There's the mutual respect amongst them. Sir Alex would definitely be someone who would be hugely respected by Guardiola, Bielsa, Mourinho, and the rest, and that mutual respect that he would have back as well. There's absolutely no doubt about that at all. Maresca, can he win the league? You've said you like him as a manager. Can he win the league first year? Do you think, Joel? Maresca, Man City?
He could. He's Arsenal's biggest threat, in my opinion.
Sure.
I've been watching him pre-season, and again, like I said, the relationship with the players. And you know what? It's been pretty quiet over there. Yes, they bought Elliot Anderson for the 116 mil, but there hasn't been any discussion about Maresca's playing style. We haven't heard nothing. It's based on Arsenal not winning in pre-season. It's based on do Man United have the players available? It's based on Chelsea having Nicholas Jackson back. But we haven't heard anything about Man City playing football. And they've been playing football.
Perfect time to bring in our next caller. We've had Gavin, the Leeds fan, saying that he thinks Sir Alex is the number 1 manager of all time ahead of Pep. But we've got a Manchester City fan, Lee, who I'm guessing is going to be on Joel's side here and says Pep Guardiola is number 1. Is that right, Lee?
Yeah, evening, chaps. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think what's really interesting for me when people talk about Pep is that everybody goes to this thing of, he's arrived at all of these clubs that are on top form and built, etc. One of the things that always amazes me is people forget his first year as a coach, was Barcelona B. Now, that's not a reserve team. That's the equivalent of a team at the time that was in the Football League, if you talk about it in English football terms. And he took that team that previous years have been in relegation dogfights, and by the end of it, they beat Barcelona's first team. No, didn't just beat them, they trounced them.
Yeah.
And that's what got him the Barcelona job. And not only that, a lot of the players that he developed in that Barcelona B team went into the Barcelona first team and became the Barcelona under Pep, not the Barcelona under Rijkaard. So to ignore that and say, well, Ferguson did what he did before the Premier League existed, that for me is a false comparison. The other thing I'd say is that as Barcelona under Rijkaard were not the Barcelona that we knew under Pep, and Manchester City under Pellegrini were not the Manchester City that we knew under Pep. And we'd gone 2 years without a trophy before he arrived, and nearly failed to qualify for the Champions League. So this idea that he had just walked in and arrived at these fully built squads is not the truth, actually. And for me, that makes him. He's done everything that Ferguson has done, but he's won more trophies at the same time and redefined how English football is played. That, for me, makes him number one.
Passionate call from Lee, and he makes some great points, to be fair.
No, he does. Lee, you know, I do agree with you to a certain extent, I have to say. I agree with everything you said about what he did at Barcelona. I agree with everything you said about the football pyramid, because I was saying the same to Gav. The only bit that I don't really agree with is I do believe that he already had the team when he came into Man City. Yes, they didn't win straight away, but that was Pellegrini's team. It really was.
Sometimes, though, Lee, and I guess what you're saying is it's sometimes the hardest jobs to take are the teams where they're already doing well. And we're going to see how Maresca gets on at your team, Lee. But sometimes is it almost, it's just, if you go to a team that's struggling, 99 times out of 10, and 99 times out of 100, you're going to go to a team that's struggling. That's why the manager's left, and you're going to go to a team, and basically the only way is up. But if you go to a team that's been really successful, like Maresca has at City this season, then it's almost up. So it's a fair point on Pep Guardiola. Yes, he has gone to successful teams, but continuing and adding to that success is almost as tough, I guess, as dragging a team up who's on the decline. How do you see Maresca getting on this season, Lee?
I think he's going to do just great. I'll admit that initially when we were linked with him, I was maybe a little bit underwhelmed, but I think that's natural for anybody that's following Pep. But for what I've seen in pre-season there's a lot of similarity, but the one really encouraging thing is the way that he's using his outside forwards or his wingers. They're so much more aggressive, and I think if anything in these last couple of years under Pep, maybe that bit of predictability when we got into the final third was what became a bit of an Achilles heel for us. So if he can get Semenyo and Cherki and Foden and Savinho and Doku playing more aggressively, then I think that releases even more for Erling Haaland. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that could be the X factor for City this year with what is otherwise a really good squad that Pep's rebuilt. So fingers crossed. Do
you have any concerns, Lee? We've seen what we talked about Sir Alex when he left Manchester United, years and years of the struggles at Old Trafford. We've seen Arsene Wenger at Joel's club, Arsenal, disappear, and then years of struggles, and they finally got back on top of the table now under Mikel Arteta, but it's taken a long time. Have you got concerns that Pep Guardiola leaving City could lead to a few years in the wilderness as Maresca tries to get his team right and they try to sort of reblend under a new manager?
I don't think the wilderness. I think there's going to be a natural kind of bounce because we're going to have to reset our expectations. What we've had under Pep for the last 10 years isn't normal, and we shouldn't think that somebody else is coming to do the same thing. But this club isn't built around Pep Guardiola. It's built around a whole structure, and I think they've been really, really good over the years at City at making sure that, you know, the director of football, the chairman, the whole infrastructure is built around a philosophy, and actually you bring in a coach who can get the most out of that philosophy. So we won't be as good. I'm absolutely sure we won't win as much in the next 10 years, but I don't think we're heading for the wilderness either. And so long as we're competitive and we're always in that shake-up for the top honours, I think that's where our expectations should rightly be over this next 5 to 10 years.
Great stuff, mate. Great call, mate. Thanks so much. Good luck this season. Yeah, two fantastic calls to get a start there from Gavin, the Leeds fan, and Lee, the Manchester City fan. Do keep getting in touch with us, please. We are on 03717 22 33 44. We will take your calls. We'll discuss any of the topics that we're discussing here tonight on the Transfer Insiders. This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Up next, we're going to be getting all the latest transfer news from our very own Ben Jacobs.
Who's winning the title?
Don't know. I don't know. I want to know what you think of this because I haven't got a clue. I really haven't. I think it's one of the most hardest calls to make we've had in recent years.
The thing is about Manchester City, I wonder without Pep how different it'll be.
Yeah, and if they lose Rodri.
Exactly. You wonder what it's going to be like, but then you never write them off. Arsenal, I think, look like the most complete team.
Gabriel injured though for 5 months.
For 5 months.
And Trossard going out. I don't like the Trossard sale. I really don't. I think he's such a big, influential player for them. I can't believe they've sold him.
I know. But then Guimaraes came on in.
Big signing. Like him a lot.
But then I also look at Manchester United and I wonder, but Chelsea, I think, Jason's right. I don't think we should be sleeping on it at all.
No. We could have a 5 or 6 horse race this season. Yeah. That would be incredible. It really would. I don't want to see somebody run away with it.
Go on then, though. But Jason looked down the camera and delivered that it will be Chelsea.
I know.
So who is it, Ben? Put your neck on the line.
I'm going to say Man United. I do. I think Man United. I think the last season's form has set into motion a style of play and an expectation of what them players have to deliver week in, week out for Manchester United.
But they've got Champions League. They're back in Champions League.
They're back in Champions League.
I think they've got enough.
I think if they can add another one or two, Man United are definitely within a shout. But they need to add 1 or 2 big uns. But the problem nowadays is if you're going to add 1 or 2 big uns, then it's 200 million quid. Mm-hmm. Liverpool need a couple big uns.
However, I mean, we do know that Manchester United look like they have something left to spend.
Who would have thought a sporting event's halftime show could have a bigger impact than the game itself? Well, the Super Bowl halftime show does exactly that. In 2024, Usher brought in an audience of 180 million worldwide, the biggest ever in the event's history. But how did singing and dancing get to be the centerpiece of America's biggest sporting event? The first edition of the Super Bowl was held in 1967 when the Green Bay Packers beat the Kansas City Chiefs in Los Angeles. Because of the sheer size of the event, organisers wanted to put on entertainment at halftime for the fans in the stadium. It was a display of marching bands, dancers and pure USA patriotism, and that was the theme that followed for years. In the 1980s, the Walt Disney Company got involved and we started seeing some interesting and questionable displays. But we got our first glimpse of halftime shows to come in '93 when none other than Michael Jackson stunned fans with his 15-minute medley of his own smash hits. When he walked out on stage, he had to wait for the crowd's cheers to die down for about 2 minutes before even starting his first song. Diana Ross, Gloria Estefan found and cleared away in the same time. The acts perform for free nowadays, even though the experts reckon it costs around $13 million to put on Rihanna's show. Artists know they'll rocket up the charts in the following weeks. Rihanna's average sales improved by 140% in the months following her performance.
Welcome back. This is Transfer Insiders with myself, Pete Graves, and elite podcaster, big Arsenal fan, Joel Beya, with us here tonight as well. Going to get our next guest on tonight. It's a pleasure to say. Joining us live right now is talkSPORT's very own man who knows everything about transfers. Mr. Ben Jacobs is here. Ben, how are you doing, mate?
Good evening. Busy times. Everyone's signing players. Joel, Arsenal might even have a few through the door between now and the end of the window, even though I think he's moaning because Vinny Jr. never signed.
Ben, I was going to compliment your new beard there, your new beard trim, but I'm not going to say anything now.
Listen, Ben, great to see you. Look, what's the latest? The big story is, of course, Enzo Fernandez. 120 million, this deadline. What are you hearing? What's your understanding of the latest movements on that?
Yeah, so both Chelsea and Manchester sources have told talkSPORT that there hasn't been a bid as of now, but there is this deadline, 5 p.m. on Friday. And from Chelsea's perspective, this is right to us if you're Manchester City or another club, pay 120 million fixed fee. That's been their price since before the window opened. And if Manchester City do that by 5 o'clock, then Enzo Fernandez will be a Manchester City player, a domino that could then well see Rodri go to Barcelona. And as we heard in the news, Tiani Reinders off to Saudi Arabia with Al Qadsiya. If it gets to 5:01, Chelsea's position is quite firm here, that then Enzo Fernandez is not for sale, the price comes off the table, and the earliest that they will revisit a potential exit is in summer. So nothing in January. And this feels like a power play from Chelsea to make sure that ahead of the new Premier League season, there's no distractions.
Reinders, the fee, I'll bring you in here, Joel, as well. I mean, it looks like they're getting back more than they paid for him. Good business, right, for Manchester City, although Joel was saying he's quite surprised, Ben, that he's being allowed to leave so quickly, having shown a bit of promise last season. But they're getting back, Joel, more money than they would have paid for him.
Yeah, I mean, definitely good business. But I think with where they are now and the instability of the club and, Rodri potentially leaving, surely you want to keep as many midfielders as possible. Yes, I understand that Enzo could be coming in, but you want a thick squad. And I think with Reinders going, I don't know if it really helps their situation that much.
And of course, with Reinders going, Rodri potentially going, Ben as well, it would free up the funds to buy Enzo. But of course, Ben, as you've just said there, time is very much of the essence here.
Yeah, and I get the impression that Chelsea are genuine, partly because Enzo Fernandez was, of course, banned for a couple of games after he flirted more with the city of Madrid, but the implication was at that point he wanted to join Real Madrid. And then if you think about Enzo Maresca leaving Chelsea, and at the point he was still Chelsea boss, Chelsea's perspective is Manchester City made a formal inquiry. So their feeling, even though it's denied by Manchester City sources, is that Enzo Maresca knew that he was going to get the Manchester City job and walk, therefore, in order to wait for Pep Guardiola to leave. So Chelsea and Manchester City with a bit of a frosty relationship. And I don't think, despite reports, we're going to get a cut price deal closer to 100 or 105 million. But of course, if you're Manchester City, it's not been lost on them the fact that when Chelsea signed Enzo Fernandez, they went early, they couldn't succeed. There were a lot of public statements saying he would stay at Benfica. And our information is the deal got done with about 3 minutes of the window in January left. So Chelsea used basically every second. And Manchester City may call Chelsea's bluff, maybe make a bid below 120 million before the deadline and then see what happens after it. But Chelsea counter, and sources tell me if it's 5:01 on a Friday and they don't have in writing 120 million, it's saga over. And then Rodri Barcelona still advancing, as we broke this morning on talkSPORT. £55 million bid, including add-ons, was turned down by Manchester City. They want at least 60, and some sources now say closer to 70. And if you add up the Reinders fee plus what they might get for Rodri, it basically does equal one Enzo Fernandez.
Yeah, you were saying higher than you 70. You are getting in with Rodri. Yeah, look, Tottenham Hotspur. They've had.
Ask him about Arsenal.
Just hang on. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's not.
We're
Arsenal.
Running out of time, Joe.
Yeah, it's not Arsenal radio. Tottenham Hotspur. They've had a good summer. They've strengthened the defence. They've strengthened the midfield significantly. A lot of talk, and Spurs fans are wondering what we're going to do in attack. And a couple of names being linked to Spurs. Ben.
Yeah, so Savinho, I think, will progress because the issue here is not so much the financial package. Tottenham ultimately tried last summer. They got pretty close to a deal. It was blocked by members of the Manchester City board. Flash forwards and the broad financials are the same. Savinho wants the move. But it boils down to two things. The first is, can Man City find a replacement? And Pedro Neto is one name of interest. But again, the relationship between Man City and Chelsea means to get players like Enzo Fernandez or Pedro Neto, Man City might have to pay a premium, and that might be why these outgoings are important. But if they bring in someone, a versatile attacker that's maybe more an Enzo Maresca type winger, because he's basically looking for a touchline hugging winger that can switch sides and have goals output. And Savinho struggled for goal contributions last season, and that's why I think Enzo Maresca will sanction it, but it's contingent on Man City having a replacement first. And if they get one in these final days of the window, Spurs should make quick progress then with Savinho. And Cody Gakpo one to watch, and another sort of patient game here, because Liverpool are not going to sell now. If you knock on their door today, it's not for sale. But if things align and, for example, Bradley Barkla comes to Liverpool and one more attacker comes in, then late in the window, Cody Gakpo might become available on the market. And my info, by the way, is that Tottenham would take Gakpo and Savinho rather than one or the other.
That would complete a pretty impressive summer, wouldn't it, for Tottenham?
Sure.
Come on then, the floor's yours, mate. Let's get into Arsenal.
Well, you know what? I'm hearing a lot of chat about Osimhen, Martinelli. How truthful is this? Because myself and the Arsenal contingency, really want to know what's going on, Ben. And you're probably the only person who can tell us here at talkSPORT.
Yeah, you just perfected, didn't you, the Victor Gyökeres celebration, and now you might have to do the Osimhen one as well. And there is some substance here. So Arsenal fans need to be alert to the possibility of some mutual business. But there's one complication, and that's a certain Gabriel Martinelli, because at the moment he's not sold on a move to Turkey. So as we broke on talkSPORT at the weekend, on Sunday, Galatasaray made a call about Gabriel Martinelli because they were struggling to get Rafa Leao over the line. And subsequently yesterday, first broken by Sky Sports, there was a bid 45 million euros, which I've been able to confirm. And Arsenal haven't rejected it yet. And partially that's down to the fact that Martinelli needs to communicate if he's actually open to the move. And what adds a layer of intrigue here, Joel, is that in addition to talks for Gabriel Martinelli, Ethan Nwaneri is being discussed. And in those same conversations, Victor Osimhen has also come up. So are we now going to see a situation where we get this mutually beneficial two-way business? Arsenal are in the market for an attacker. Julian Alvarez is complicated unless the player agitates for a move, and everyone knows that his top choice is Barcelona. So that one's only going to happen if Atleti say, we'd rather sell outside of La Liga. For Osimhen, it's true that there was a Saudi offer as well in the last few days, but he's usually rebuffed interest long-standing over a couple of windows now from Al Hilal, and maybe the Premier League could become a possibility. Some reports have linked him with Tottenham as well, and maybe finally this is going to be the window where we see Victor Osimhen come to the Premier League. But at this stage, it feels like Osimhen would not be a standalone deal. Martinelli would need some convincing, and Ethan Nwaneri needs to decide what he wants to do because his pathway for minutes at Arsenal appear limited at the moment.
Joel, are you surprised to see the likes of Nwaneri and Miles Lewis-Skelly as a young academy sort of graduates being linked with moves away from the club?
I don't like it, but I think with the new financial rules, I'm not really too surprised because everybody needs to remember that if you sell Miles Lewis-Skelly for 40 mil on the books, it actually appears as 80 mil.
I hate that rule.
So I hate it as well because you look at someone like Miles Lewis-Skelly, he was out the team for the majority of the season. He comes in, does a great job. Nwaneri, great potential, but we could be missing out on the best of his years.
Konsa as well. Joel would be interested in whether he can come in and shore up the. I mean, you need a centre back, don't you? I mean, Saliba's struggling with an injury. I mean, there's no doubt those two. Yeah,
I wouldn't mind a concert at all, not just for my sake, but because I will be trolling Gabby Agbonlahor every single morning.
What?
I think he's that good. Centre back, right back, he's the best.
Any truth in this one, Ben? Konsa?
Yeah, there is. And unbelievably, Arsenal in this inflated market, way back, probably a month or so ago, bid for Konsa verbally to the tune of £30 million, and it was dismissed out of hand. Villa are looking for 60 million or more, and I think they're well within their rights because they don't want to lose the player, coupled with the fact that Jan-Paul van Hecke, 52 million, Maxence Lacroix, 52 million. Konsa's going to be more than that. And I know people will say, well, Christian Romero went to Atletico Madrid for 40 million euros, but it's clearly one market, Premier League to Premier League, and another market when a player leaves the Premier League for somewhere else in Europe, unless maybe it's Saudi Arabia or Turkey. So Villa are really firm on this fee, but I expect Arsenal to be really busy between now and the end of the window. They still want a centre-back, they still want a left-sided winger or attacker, and it might be if certain players leave, for example, Napoli are considering a possible move for Gabriel Jesus, that a number 9, a left winger and a centre-back could all come in. It's just a bit of a race against the clock to see if they can do that volume of business between now and the end of the window.
Joel now looks like a kid at Christmas.
Bring it on, Ben Jacobs. Bring it on, son.
Well done, Ben Jacobs. Great to speak to you.
Well, now you've got to compliment the beard, Joel, before I go because I finished on a high.
Ben, it's beautiful, mate.
We could have a beard off us three, couldn't we? Yeah. Top stuff, Ben. Great stuff as always. Thank you so much. It is heating up the transfer window, no doubt about that. Less than 3 weeks to go, and Ben Jacobs will be regularly updating us here on talkSPORT. Big night for Rangers tonight because they were trailing 2-1 against their Polish side, Jagiellonia, and we've got Paul Mitchell there who's watching because Derek McInnes hasn't had a great start at Rangers, but how have Rangers started tonight, Paul?
It's been a very interesting start here, Pete, but I can tell you it's Rangers 1, Jagiellonia 0. Rangers getting the benefit of a VAR decision after Yokota went down the wing, got the ball into the box. There was a shout for handball. Play continued for a while, and eventually the referee did get called to the monitor, pointed to the penalty spot, and Lawrence Shanklin got his first goal in Rangers colours. The goalkeeper dived to the side, and Lawrence Shanklin went straight down the middle. So it's 2 apiece on aggregate at the moment, but it has been nervous as well for Rangers. Ivor Pandur in the Rangers goals, and a couple of fine saves to make, and Jesus Imas has already hit the post as well. That before Rangers went ahead. So lots to play for here. Currently Rangers 1-0 on the night, 2 apiece on aggregate.
Great stuff, Paul. We'll be checking in with Paul regularly throughout the night as well, seeing how Rangers go on. Derek McInnes needs a positive result, doesn't he, tonight? We'll also keep a close eye on how Hearts and Hibs and Motherwell are getting on tonight as well. And of course, you can follow their latest scores on the talkSPORT app and elsewhere as well. But a big thanks to Ben Jacobs for keeping us up to date with all the transfer news there as well. So continue to give us a call. Please get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you, myself and Joel. We are 03717 22 33 44. This is the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
Honestly, I've seen a few messages today and you go, yeah, that O'Hara and Gabby, they're talking rubbish, need to get rid of them. You know, Rory talks sense. I'm like, having a laugh.
Yeah, that was me. that was me saying that. Yeah. I've been commenting. I've been, God, those two have been terrible. Look at those two giggling away.
Brennan Johnson, listen, fair play to him. He had a little bite. And that's fine. Got no problem with a player having a bite back because it's all part and parcel of working in the media, being a footballer. You're going to take criticism. He obviously didn't like the fact we said it was crap for crap. What he didn't realise, and I'm sure...
That's weird of him, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously he's not going to like that. But, it was only a bit of a laugh. But, I get it. People are going to... You get the ump with things. I've been called crap plenty of times. Get called crap every single day of the week. Don't take it personal. All right? It is what it is. He has been crap.
Yeah, I think that's
like,
the point.
I'm sorry, but, I'm not saying he's a bad player. Anyone who plays Premier League football, anyone who does what he's done, fair play. Brilliant. Last season, Brennan Johnson was crap.
Yeah.
He would be the first to admit it. And hopefully he goes to Everton and he does all right. And Dwight McNeil goes the other way. I like Dwight McNeil. I think he's a good player. His stats is what we were talking about on the show, me and Gabby, were crap.
Yeah.
So there's no apology needed. I know Gabby bottled it like he always does.
He blamed you. He said it was you.
He tried to throw me under the bus. Not the first time. Won't be the last. But I'll stand by it.
Yeah.
I think against Brennan Johnson.
I think you're right.
He's got all the attributes to be a decent player.
Yeah, I think
last
you're right.
season, he was crap. Welcome back. This is Transfer Insiders with myself, Pete Graves, and Joel Beya, big Arsenal fan, of course, podcast legend, who's with us. Just before the break, we told you that Rangers are leading 1-0. 2-2 on aggregate. All the other Scottish teams in action tonight, currently 0-0. A bit of transfer news just reaching us from our guys as well is that Benoit Badiashile
joining Napoli from Chelsea. So Chelsea getting Beya out the door, and they've got a 5 p.m. deadline and Enzo Fernandez tomorrow. Take a bit of the pressure off, haven't they?
I mean, pretty standard though for Chelsea, right?
Yeah.
You know, put your players out on loan. Sometimes you forget that they played there because, you know, not me saying it, but they're part of the bomb squad, you know. And I think Beya, I think he ended up being part of that bomb squad.
He was so highly rated when he came in.
They all are when they come in, you know. Then all of a sudden, they're sold a season or two later.
Yeah.
And they make good money from it as well.
Yeah. Tell you what, Arsenal, if all you get all the players that Ben says the Arsenal are going to get, then you might be one of them forgetting who you've got as well.
Mate, we're winning the treble if we get all those players. You heard it here first.
Listen, Liverpool, I want to talk about them, and one of the players that has been talked about, and we could talk about it in the same breath with Arsenal as well, he has been linked, but Barcola, the PSG chairman, said that the door's open for a move. You know what? Could you see him going to the Premier League, Liverpool, maybe even Arsenal if Martinelli was to leave?
Yeah, I can see it because I think he wants it. I think the player wants the move. I think that's really, really important. And it looks like, well, at the very least, Liverpool, they're willing to pay near enough the money. I mean, it's reported that it's going to be around 100 mil, 100 plus mil. We're not saying it's happening.
A lot of money.
It's a lot of money. But me personally, I do not think it's worth it.
Right.
Not for him. I think he's got great potential, fantastic pace, explosive, really scary when he's running down the wing or up front. But the reality is his finishing is not up to scratch.
That final product.
Honestly, we're in a day and time where a club is willing to pay 100 mil or more without that finishing. How much would Robert Pires be worth today, or you know, any other flashy winger that we've seen in the past? Or to me, it's crazy. I know it's not my money. I know times have changed, but 100 mil for Barcola, sorry, not happening.
It feels like Liverpool need a big signing. I mean, we understand that there's an agreement there on the players' terms. The clubs have been in touch, but obviously, like you're saying, it's big money that PSG are looking for a player that doesn't automatically get in their starting 11, which is obviously very, very strong indeed. But Liverpool, I mean, Liverpool fans, if you're listening, is it been a bit underwhelming for you this window? I mean, do get in touch with us, 03717 223344.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
I don't think they need big signings. I think they need signings.
Yeah.
You know, I think they need functional signings. You know, at this stage, I don't think it's a marquee signing they need. They had enough of them last season. They need to make sure that they got their centre-backs. They need to make sure that they got their left-back. They need to make sure that they got their winger. They need to make sure that they know who's going. They need to make sure that they're functional again.
Yeah, it's, you know, Andoni Areola, a big job on his hands there, because from, Arne Slot winning the league in his first season, and then, what did they finish? What did they finish? Fifth last season, was it?
I wasn't looking down far that table, mate. Honestly, I wasn't.
As the Arsenal fan, just winning the title for the first time, goodness knows how long. But I mean, a lot of pressure on Andoni Areola to come in, such a huge football club, and can he get a tune out? The likes of, you mentioned the big signings last season, the likes of Alexander Isak. All eyes on him this year.
Yeah.
Massive deal last year, just didn't happen for him. And already you're looking pre-season, and Liverpool fans sort of worried about his form in pre-season, some of them. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Get in touch with us, Liverpool fans, if you disagree. But, as someone who watched him week in, week out at Newcastle, I can say what a player there is there. But he certainly hasn't shown anywhere near his ability in the red of Liverpool yet.
No, but it's funny because when you see him play for Sweden, you go, oh, there's definitely a really good player there. So, I think it's very harsh to be judging a player in pre-season. Let's wait a little bit. Wait till the season starts. Is he a top player? Definitely. There was a time, Pete, where I thought that Arsenal were going to go in for him. And I thought Arsenal need to do it because this boy is going to go to Madrid. He then ends up at Liverpool. Did he break his? Was it a leg break or it was a bad injury?
Yeah,
it was a really bad injury.
He's scoring a goal, I think, wasn't it? He actually hurt himself scoring a goal. I think it was a fracture.
It was really bad, but then obviously you've got you've got Ekitike that came in, did a great job. He does have a lot to prove. I reckon one of them goes in the next 18 months. By the way,
one of the
Ekitike or Isak, one of them have to go.
Leaves Anfield.
There can't be the two of them throughout like the majority of their career there. It's not going to work. One person needs to go.
Which one?
I reckon Isak goes.
Arsenal take him?
It depends on his fitness. If he stays fit, bring him to me, baby. If not, then nah.
Are you taking Barcola or not?
Not for that price, no.
No?
No.
And what's Martinelli worth?
probably say Martinelli's maybe worth 45, 50 million euros, maybe. Pounds, sorry. I'll say pounds.
But you're not spending over 100 on Barco.
I mean, is he that much better than Martinelli? Is he that much?
I like Martinelli.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting the same thing. You're getting pace. Yes, Barcola's faster, but are you really getting a different output when it comes to goals? You got someone that already knows the Premier League. Martinelli's not exactly old. What are you rushing to get rid of him for versus to get in Barcola? It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, brilliant stuff, Joel. Thanks so much. This is Transfer Insiders with myself, Pete Graves, and podcaster Joel Beya. Please keep your calls coming in. We are 03717 2233 44. You're listening to Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
Another one or two players in Man United in with a shout at the title. What do you think, Gabby?
No, I think Champions League will take a lot out of that squad of players. I look at right backs, Mazraoui, Dalot, not good enough. Centre backs, they need cover there as well. Shesko, listen, he done okay last season, double figures. He's got to be at it this season. They've got a very good squad of players, Jeff, but if they don't get 2 or 3 top players in certain roles, I don't think they can fight for the title. I think top 4 again and get out of the group stage of the Champions League will be a very good season.
Yeah, I mean, they've not been too busy in the transfer market, to say the least. They've brought in Yuri Tielemans, they've brought in Andre Santos. Ben Foster thinks one of those is the signing of the summer.
I still think Yuri Tielemans is the signing so far.
What a better business that is.
What a bit of business. Yeah. Honestly, I genuinely still think, I'm watching a load of transfers happen and, Tottenham spending a lot of money and Arsenal just spent a lot of money. I still think Yuri Tielemans is the signing of the summer so far. For 30-odd million quid, whatever it was, he is a ready-made, good-to-go starting 11 player. And I think if you can spend £30 million on a ready-to-go starter, it is worth every single penny.
Yeah. And I agree with him. I think Yuri Tielemans is going to be one of the signings of the summer. But when I look at that midfield, talent is Tielemans and Bruno, Meno and Andre Santos. That's just too thin on the ground, isn't it? They need more than that.
Players get injured as well. And where's their real defensive midfielder? I know Andre Santos has been brought in for that role, but he didn't pull up any trees at Chelsea, did he? Where's their, Villa got Bouba Kamara. You look at Anderson, Gravenberch.
Over the years, we've been treated to some amazing exhibition events in sports. Some become iconic, but many fail to live up to the hype. So what are some of the most anticlimactic exhibitions? Technically, it wasn't an exhibition because it ended up being sanctioned as a pro fight, but it basically was. 2024 saw Mike Tyson return to the ring to fight YouTuber Jake Paul. The event, which Paul won, was streamed by 65 million people on Netflix, making it the most streamed sporting event ever at the time. But many complained of buffering and freezing. And as for the fight itself, well, it was considered an entertaining disaster. I mean, it wasn't prime Tyson, he was 58, and after the fight, Paul, who was 27 at the time, said he'd actually gone easy on Tyson towards the end. Now, Mayweather-McGregor in 2017 was a better watch, despite Mayweather going rope-a-dope early on, but it was way too expensive. Pay-per-view was 75 quid, and in the stadium, the cheapest ticket was over 370. Now, this next one you could have watched for free, only because the pay-per-view had streaming issues, so they had to open it out. I'm talking about Tiger versus Phil in 2018, which was nicknamed The Match. Massive names and massive rivals going head-to-head. On paper, it worked. In reality, it didn't. The two players were mic'd up, so we all thought we'll get fascinating insight. We'll be able to hear them insult each other for 18 holes. But what we actually got was more heavy breathing and sniffles. And for two GOATs, the golf itself was bang average. And speaking of GOATs, let's end with Messi and Ronaldo. In 2023, an exhibition between PSG and the Riyadh All-Star 11 saw them share a pitch for possibly the final time. To be fair, it was a goal fest, which PSG won 5-4, and Messi and Ronaldo both scored. But it was obvious they were past their prime. El Clasico, this was not. And with it being in Saudi, there were more sports washing claims. So there you have it.
Guys, this is Talk Sport. I'm Pete Graves, and this is Transfer Insiders, joined by the brilliant Joel Beya, elite podcaster, Arsenal fan, and we've got plenty to talk about. We're going to be talking about Arsenal in just a few minutes, Joel, so I'm really looking forward to getting your thoughts on being title winners and who else should come in. We're also going to be talking about Chelsea. We're going to be talking about Manchester United. We might even talk about Newcastle United a little bit later as well. We want your calls. Please get in touch with us. 03717 223344. It'd be lovely to hear from you this evening here on Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT. Joel, still loving life, mate?
Yeah,
Champions?
Life is good, you know, still smoking on the cigar since May, if I'm honest with you. And hopefully it'll be back-to-back big cigars as well come following May in 2027.
You've had more holidays this summer than Arsenal have won trophies in a while, and you've got more to come. It's unbelievable.
I deserve it because we won the league, you know. Do you know how much it takes out of you to celebrate like that and troll your friends?
I wouldn't know.
Oh, yeah, you wouldn't. It's true. But the League Cup, no? Did that not feel like the Premier League?
Best day of my life.
Really?
By miles. Yeah, by miles. And I'm married with 3 kids, but that was the best day of my life. Listen, congratulations on the league. But going into this season, I mean, I don't know why I'm asking this question because I know the answer already, but you're supremely confident man, but you clearly think they're gonna follow up and do it back to back?
I do. And do I think it's because we're that great? No. I think it's because everybody else is on a rebuild at the moment. Of course, Michael Carrick, he's been there. He came halfway through last season, but, you know, he's still got a lot of work to do there at Manchester United. You know, he's got to figure out who his midfield is going to be. Is it going to be Kobbie Mainoo? Is it going to be Talisman? Is it going to be Santos? And then you've got Liverpool, who they're at a new reset with Areola in there now. And then you've got Chelsea with Alonso. So I think Arsenal are the only stable club, and you have to take advantage. We cannot be in another position where a new manager comes in and they win the league straight away like Arsenal.
Who worries you?
I think there's 2 teams.
Okay.
I say Manchester City, because I really feel like Maresca has a good relationship with players. And I feel like, you mentioned it earlier on, they're really good at laying the ground down really well before a manager comes in. And I think they've done that for Maresca. They knew he was coming a long time ago.
So City
and Chelsea. I think Alonso, he's cooking something there, man. A few unks that he's purchased recently in Danny Welbeck and Jordan Henderson, Uncle FC. But at the same time, I feel like, you know, they've got a core, they got the nucleus, you know, so could be a problem.
I actually get the Henderson and Welbeck signings because, you know, bringing that experience into the dressing room. Jason Conde came on talkSPORT, didn't he? And he said that he thinks Chelsea are going to win the league. So clearly, you know, I mean, that doesn't surprise you when Jason Conde says that about Chelsea, to be honest with you. But what is it about Chelsea? Is Xabi Alonso a factor there for you?
Well, first of all, does he believe it, or is it the new hair transplant that's giving him all that confidence? We have to double check. Can someone ask Jason, please? Ask him, from Joel Beya. Secondly, I have to say, I do think Alonso brings something different. You know, you can tell that he picked Chelsea over Liverpool because he gets to go to Chelsea and be the manager. If he was at Liverpool, he would have been more of a coach. But because he's the manager, he's able to say, no, this is the culture we need. These are the players that I want. You saw him earlier on in the window. He wanted to sign Xhaka. You know, that is very different from the Chelsea philosophy that we've seen. So he's obviously cooking something different now. And the board are buying it.
When he took the job, it's fair, we have to say, when he took the job at Chelsea, I mean, Arne Slot was still the Liverpool manager, but it wasn't long after that Slot was gone. So you'd think that he would have had some sort of insight to that. So it's a fair point, Joel, that you make. But Vinicius Jr. signing the new deal with Real Madrid, I know you'd have loved to have signed Vinicius Jr. for Arsenal. But who would you like? We heard Ben talking about Osimhen. We've talked about Barcola. Do you stick with Martinelli, or do you twist it and try and get someone else on the flank?
I don't know why we're rushing to get rid of Martinelli if there isn't a clear, obvious choice.
Yeah.
You know, I think for me, before I would have looked at Rafael Leao, but I'm not 100% sure seeing him last season. I do think that Martinelli offers a lot. You know, if anything,
underrated.
I think so.
By the Arsenal fans, even?
Yes, because I think this game is a lot to do with PR. You know, if you put up cool Instagram posts and, you know, you paint this image, all of a sudden your value goes up by X because you're being, tweeted about the most, or, you know, like posted about the most. And I think engagement and stuff has a lot to do with it, when sometimes it's not really real. Whereas I look at someone like Martinelli, he comes in, he does his job. Yes, he's not always clinical, but why is it that Barcola is worth 100 mil more and he's not? Is it because he doesn't have cool celebrations? What is it? Martinelli's now a Premier League champion. We have to put some respect on his name.
I've always thought he's a top player. Let's talk about Bruno, because, you know, there's been some great signings in the Premier League this summer already with less than 3 weeks to go in the window. Bruno Guimaraes, how excited are you about him? He's made his debut, albeit in a pre-season friendly this week. The Arsenal fans are absolutely buzzing to get him through the door, right?
Very, very happy. I mean, first of all, he's the real Bruno in the Premier League. There's a few Brunos, but he is the one. He's the main Bruno now. And everybody complaining why we didn't get another Brazilian. We've got the Brazilian that we needed. This is the Brazilian that I wanted. You know, for the record, this is the guy I wanted. But yeah, no, very happy that he's at the club now. And we said it before, if Arsenal are to... I was speaking to Martin Keown this morning, actually. And he said it as well. He said, we're at the stage where we need players that are going to come in and enhance the team. And there's not a lot of those around that can automatically come in. And I'm not saying displace Declan Rice, but they take us to another level.
Gives you an opportunity to rest Declan Rice.
100%, you know, and you're still going to get the same levels, the same kind of heart. He made a challenge yesterday, right, near our box. And you should have heard the fans screaming, go, like, that's what we want at the football club.
He's heart and soul, Bruno. He's, you know, it was a tough pill to swallow. Bruno.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not over it.
Worse than Tonali?
Yeah, it was. I mean, look, Gordon went early to Barcelona. A lot of money. I think the fans sort of almost accepted that one. We talked about it before, and Barcelona and Real Madrid come and calling. Then Tonali went to Spurs, and again, you're looking at it, choosing Spurs over Newcastle United. Spurs are obviously at a high trajectory, going places at the moment, but that would have been tough for Newcastle fans. But to lose the club captain Bruno, who was a player who understood the club, who understood the fans, who loved living in the area and so on, I think that was really tough. And of course, that his departure sort of came at the same time as Eddie Howe leaving. And although the Newcastle fans were split on Eddie Howe, some were pleased to see him go, thought it was a time for a reset. Others are very different. Matthias Jaisler's come in, and it's a fresh start for Newcastle this season. But
can I ask you a question?
Go on.
Why is it that Tonali went for 100 mil and Bruno went for 75 mil?
Well, I think it's an age thing, isn't it? It's an age thing. I think Tonali's got more years on his side.
How old is he?
You put me on the spot there, but I think Tonali's a little bit younger than Bruno.
But it's not by much, really. I mean, Bruno's 29. My guess would be that Tonali's 27. Can we get a confirmation?
I'm sure Hodge is busy backstage there looking at it.
I still feel like if that's the case, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong, but yeah.
75 million. I think there was as well, you know, there's with Bruno, Tonali 26, Bruno indeed 20, I think he's 29, Bruno.
Yeah.
But yeah, or just nearly 29. But yeah, I mean, that's 3 years. That's a long time.
I mean, Tonali looks older, first of all, to start off with, mate. He looks like he's older than Bruno G. Just putting it out there. And he's
Sandro, if you're listening, don't listen too much to Joel. But no, I mean both top players. But I think Bruno hurts Newcastle more because he's got Tonali's a workhorse. He'll be a brilliant signing for Spurs. He gets up and down. He's box to box. He's also sort of blood and thunder. And then Bruno unlocks the door. Bruno's got that Brazilian sort of ability to just pick a pass where you don't see a pass. And I've said this before, but what I love most about Bruno is you see a lot of midfielders receive the ball, give the ball, receive the ball, give the ball. What Bruno does is he sort of holds on to it for that little bit longer. So he draws players in. You know, he takes that little bit longer on the ball. He's so comfortable. He'll draw a couple of players, take them out of the game, bang, release a pass, and all of a sudden, and I think in a side like Arsenal, I think he'll go down as the signing of the summer. Come the end of the season, Joel, you'll be calling,
across the Premier League.
You'll be calling me at the end of the season saying what a massive impact.
Above Morgan Rogers?
I believe so, yeah.
Really?
I believe so. Pound for pound, £75 million.
Above Elliot Anderson?
Pound for pound. Elliot Anderson, what, 116 million?
Yeah, that's a big statement.
£75 million. I think pound for pound, in the impact that he can have in the Arsenal team now, he can come in, slot in alongside Declan Rice, and he is probably the missing piece of the jigsaw to go that next step and win the Champions League. I think.
Let me challenge you. What about Tielemans, who only moved to United for £35 million?
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good shout.
If you give it,
what's that? 30 million?
30, 35.
That's a good shout. That is a good shout.
If it was Arsenal that got Tielemans for 35 million, there would be a parade outside right about now.
Would you have? Let's do this then. Would you have taken Tielemans over Bruno for that money?
No.
So bear in mind, you're saving 30 odd million for 75. Would you rather have had Tielemans?
Not really, because I don't think we need him as much.
Different players.
I think different players. I think where United are, they desperately need him. I don't think we need him like that. I think for me, a Bruno entrance is good because, like what you said, gives Declan Rice a chance to rest a little bit when needed. Or, and I saw really, really, really good combinations with him and some of the other players. Him and Odegaard worked really well yesterday as well. So, yeah.
Good luck. You're going to win the league again, are you?
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Just make sure we clip that up and play it back at the end of the season if it doesn't happen.
We do this every season, by the way, and my response doesn't change. It's Joel Beya here, reporting for talkSPORT. Let me tell you something. Not only are we going to be champions, we're going to be champions by April. Write that down.
Okay, we're going to take a break before everyone turns off their radio. You're listening to Transfer Insiders with myself, Pete Graves, and Joel Beya. Up next, we're going to be live in the studio, joined by Louis Benevinti from Chelsea Echo, who's going to be talking all things Chelsea. And keep your calls coming in, please, on Transfer Insiders. We are 03717 22 33 44. More next.
We don't know. Because, do you know what I'm not buying, Gabby? I'm not buying this whole, Victor would have been a problem. I don't know if he would have been Vinny would have taken the number 7 shot, would he?
No.
We don't know.
I don't think that, but like Vinny Jr.'s character, like he's coming to Arsenal, he wants Ballon d'Ors, do you know what I mean? Like,
what's wrong with that?
No, but I'm saying, and also he's coming in on a lot more money than other players. If you're Saka and Rice and Ryan and Gabriel and Saliba, and he's coming in, triple what you're earning,
massive causes.
Well, if you've won a couple of Champions Leagues, right, and the league is running out your ears, then yeah.
As far as the other players are concerned, that doesn't matter.
Why not? Why does that not matter?
They're the players who just won you the Premier League.
But that's the player. But that's the marquee signing. Bruno G cannot be our marquee signing. He can't. We need a statement signing. That's what I would like.
You don't need a statement signing. You don't need any particular signing. You'll win this Premier League without it. And people will say, strengthen from a position of strength. Well, just ask Liverpool fans what happened when they won the league, and they strengthened with people like Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz.
Do you know what my issue is? Is that I do think we're going to win the league this year, and I think we're stronger. But I think of the fact that when you're in these kind of positions, like a Man City were when they first won the league, when they beat, United on goal difference. You have to capitalise. You have to know that your future depends on this 2, 3, 4 year period.
Back. This is the Transfer Insiders with myself, Pete Graves, and elite podcaster Joel Beya, and we're going to be talking about all things Chelsea in just a moment. But 4 Scottish teams in action tonight in Europe. Hearts still 0-0 trailing against Benfica. Hibs still 0-0 there ahead against the North Macedonian side. Skandia and Motherwell still 1-1 on aggregate against HJK Helsinki. But all of those games on the night 0-0. However, we do have a goal in one of our games. Let's go and join Paul Mitchell, who's watching Rangers in action tonight against Jagiellonia. And Paul, last time we spoke to you, it was 1-0. Is that still the case?
That is certainly still the case, Pete. Half-time here, Ibrox Rangers leading by that Lawrence Shanklin penalty that came after 18 minutes. Now, it came after a VAR review. There was a lovely run down the right-hand side from Daisuke Yokota. He got the ball into the box. It was cleared by the Polish side, but there was 1 or 2 shouts, half-hearted it would appear, but the referee was eventually called over to the monitor, checked it over, and then came out and pointed to the spot. Lawrence Shanklin, 20 goals for Hearts last season, brought to Ibrox, the club he supported as a boy. Just took the gentle little run up, the goalkeeper dived, and Shanklin hit it straight down the middle for his first Rangers goal. Rangers, though, had lived a little bit dangerously. Jesus Imaz had hit the post after 40 minutes. He had another great chance 2 minutes after Rangers scored as well. Rangers lop a lot of the ball, but not getting a great deal of chances. Raskin with a header at the back post, and Adiris had a shot deflected. The best move of the match came from Jagiellonia. They had a lovely move after 38 minutes, which ended up with Nick Prelec just knocking the ball wide. So I'm certainly expecting more goals in this one, but as it stands, 2 each on aggregate. Rangers 1 up on the night.
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, big night for Derek McInnes there. He'll be desperate to get a win as Rangers manager and sort of kickstart his career there as the Rangers boss. Right, okay, we're going to be talking now, as promised, all things Chelsea. Pleasure to say joining us live right now in the studio, in the flesh, Louis Beneventi from the Chelsea Echo. Louis, great to see you. How you doing, mate?
Not too bad. Thanks for having me, gents. Good to see Joel for the first time in a very, very, very long time.
Listen,
been too long.
I want to say I haven't seen you since we became champions. So what do you have to say about that?
Good for you, mate. Well done.
Joel's been on holiday the whole time. He's had about 25 holidays this summer.
That's just Joel, though. I've known Joel for long enough to know every time, where are you? I'm away, mate.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I'm doing this. I know how it works. Don't worry. It's all good, mate. He's enjoying it. And listen, we're more than entitled to do so.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Come on, there's so much to talk about with Chelsea. Let's start with the manager. New gaffer, Xabi Alonso. You happy with that one?
Look, for me, Xabi Alonso as a coach, I think it is probably the most excited I've been under this ownership. Pre-season's obviously been a mixed bag in terms of results, but at the end of the day, it's pre-season. I'm not going to sit here and critique someone for 3 games when he doesn't know the squad and he doesn't even have all his signings yet. Yep. I think for me, in terms of how Chelsea are playing, look, I'm an Italian man, all right? I love me meats, I love my prosciutto, I love my mortadellas, right? And they're the simple pleasures in life for me, and the way that he's playing is a simple pleasure for me. It's back to front, it's simple, it's not tippy-tappy. I'm really, really excited for that. And I think, how Chelsea can translate that into the season, he's going to be a big, big part of that, and he's someone who I think really can take Chelsea up a level.
Joel probably won't admit this, but he's worried.
I wouldn't say worried.
No, I know Joel's tell. He's worried.
I wouldn't say worried as per se, but I have to admit I'm a big admirer of him. I think, and I said it to you earlier on the show, I think Alonso coming in, it's the most stable that you've been in a long time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And even though I joke online about you're taking in the elderly in Danny Welbeck and
my son,
Henderson, but I have to say I get the strategy, and if you take away the noise of all these random loans and transfers, however you do business, when you look at the core players, not talking about the bomb squad, I'm talking about the main team.
Yeah.
It is a very serious operation going on here, and give it a few years and maybe 2 years, I think they'll be challenging.
Where do they need to strengthen? I'm going to talk to you about outgoings in a minute because Barry Shields joined Napoli tonight, and Enzo Fernandez could be on his way out, although Chelsea have set a deadline at 5 p.m. tomorrow to get the deal done. So clearly that one's against the clock. But where do they need to strengthen Chelsea? You say Alonso hasn't got all his players in yet. Where does he need fresh? Well, you use the term meat, and you like your meats. Where does he need fresh meat in regards to the squad?
Look, for me, I look at that team and I go, I think the front line's pretty much sorted now. I kind of look at that it's kind of overloaded. I think it's fair to say in terms of the players that we got there.
Who's your 9?
João Pedro. I think João Pedro's a starter. I think Danny Welbeck's a very, very capable deputy and someone within the squad who can, I think, look,
Jackson, Delap, all those guys.
I think Jackson, I think I could see on the left-hand side.
Okay.
I think Nicholas Jackson, when he signed from Villarreal, was a left winger. He was someone who kind of could link up play, was very direct. I always remember the game in the FA Cup semi-final against Man City. He had Kyle Walker on toast playing on that left-hand side. And it was something where I think if you look at a lot of wingers now, it's kind of get to the byline and pass backwards. He was someone who's been very, very direct. And I think him and João Pedro together could be a really, really good combination.
I have to disagree on the left-hand side because I've been watching him pre-season. He looks like he's been learning from Harry Kane. What is he doing playing in all these deeper positions or playing from like a number 10 or, he's weaving in passes?
Mate, he's not claustrophobic. He loves he loves getting into all those tight spaces. I look at how he's playing. I think he's someone who, if he's dropping deeper, he's connecting the play. That's what he's always been good at. He was so good at that for us for a long time. And I think, him and Cole Palmer had a really, really good relationship.
So you're happy with the attack?
Very happy with the attack. Midfield, depending on what happens with Enzo, I'm sure we're going to get onto that later, obviously. I think that is maybe a slightly weaker area. I do think in terms of that double pivot, look, Chelsea need to find somebody who can partner Moises Caicedo. Look, Romeo Lavia was made a star of him. He's completed his first 90 minutes in God knows how long for Chelsea this season.
Such a shame for him.
But that's the problem. I think when people say he's a top player, look, availability is a big part of that.
Yeah.
And I think for him, he's not being available. He might have all the skill set, but he hasn't been doing it. So for me, look, I think we need somebody who we can rely on.
You got Jordan Henderson now, mate. What are you talking about? Shouldn't you sign him?
In fairness, Jordan Henderson strikes me as the sort of player who you could sit him in the last 20 minutes. He'll see it out, because I think one thing that Chelsea have struggled with is when certain results are going their way and they need to see it out when the tide turns, they haven't really sort of seen it through.
Is he going to be fast enough to keep up with the game, though? Because he's getting on a little bit.
Look, mate, if there's certain players that have done it. Leon Osman did it for Everton, right? You see how it goes there. That sort of player in their older age. Look, but you need those sort of players in your teams that can make a difference.
And by the way, Henderson must be unbelievable in the dressing room.
Absolutely.
Which counts for a lot, right? Because Thomas Tuchel almost admitted that's why he took him to the World Cup, because he's so good in the dressing room.
Jude Bellingham,
that's worth
Morgan
a few
Rogers.
extra
No, but you need those players off the pitch.
They all say the same thing.
Yeah.
I want to know how much he's paying all these players for the PR that he gets. I've never seen a player get better PR than him besides James Milner.
After we leave this studio, Joel, I'm going to tell everyone how great you are in the studio.
Really? I'll give you a little.
Yeah. That's
you know what I mean?
Yeah. So midfielder comes in. Do you think Enzo? I mean, Enzo Fernandez is a massive story. Do you think he does go? Do you want him to stay? If he does stay, do you think he'll play with a smile on his face at Stamford Bridge this season, or are you concerned that you might get a watered down sort of a player who's maybe not happy where he is?
Well, from everything I understand, he's not been happy at Chelsea for a very long time. And being frank, if you're Enzo Fernandez, and as we saw with Cucurella this summer, you were the statement signings in that first season. You were the guys that would come in and be the face of this project. And realistically, the project hasn't worked. And I think for him, he's disillusioned, like a lot of people are. In his case...
Was it the Maresca departure, Joel, to touching on at the start of the show, that Maresca's departure really was the start of the issues as far as Enzo was concerned?
Yeah, I think for him, it was, again, sort of you come in and the whole concept was, look, this young team will build together under one manager. It will develop. Maresca won the Club World Cup, the Conference League, and there was... Look, he wasn't my cup of tea, I'll be very honest. But
Maresca?
I thought, look, you know me. I like a passion merchant.
Yeah.
I like someone who connects with the fans. Maresca made no effort to connect with Chelsea fans, and Chelsea as a club has a big reliance on fans in the stadium and the
But
passion
he
and
did
connection.
his job. How can you say that he was doing his job? And on top of that, the players really liked him. That's the most important thing.
Which is
you know?
great. I think it is very important. But I think there was a section of Chelsea fans and a large section within the stadium who are a bit like, this is not. We don't feel this. You need to connect with it. You under Arteta, you connect with Arteta.
After 4 years, we connected with him for sure.
Look, with this debate's going to go. Louis, can you stay with us for a bit? We've got lots more to talk about, Chelsea.
I can stick around.
Happy to stick around with us? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got nowhere to be.
Keep us company. Fantastic. That's great news. We want your calls as well, Chelsea fans. If you're listening, what are your thoughts on Enzo? Should Enzo be sold? Should you cash in? 120 million. If that offer comes in, do you snap the hand off and start again? As Louis says, is it a part of the project that maybe hasn't worked, or would you like to see Xabi Alonso and what he can get out of Enzo next season? What are your thoughts? Get in touch with us, please, Chelsea fans. We want to hear from you. 03717 22 33 44. Louis is going to stay with us, myself and Joel, and we'll be taking your calls next on Transfer Insiders.
The way he was bullying Pacho, he was terrorising that defence. Did he miss chances? Yes, he did. Players at 25 will miss chances, never mind 17. He's going to learn a lot. I don't think you can start saying now he's the next striker after Harry Kane, but you know what you need to do now, Jeff? If I'm the FA, I am fast-tracking him, because Luxembourg, no, he's not going to choose Luxembourg, but Cameroon, parents are from Cameroon. They'll be looking at him right now saying, we want to get him in the squad for the Cameroon, get him playing a competitive qualifier so that he can't play for England. So maybe fast track him.
He's made it pretty clear that he wants to play for England, hasn't he?
Yeah, but you never know, do you? There's so many players. I was in that position where I could have played for Scotland, Nigeria, through my parents. His parents are Cameroonian. So if I'm the England setup now, he's been called up to under 17s for friendlies this month. Yeah. I'm fast tracking him even to the 21s. Not straight away now, Jeff, but let's see how he does over the next 2 or 3 months. It won't surprise me if he gets fast-tracked to the 21s. And Thomas Tuchel, the FA, are looking at it and saying, okay, do we get him into the squad? Do we get him a cap in a qualifier, a Nations League game, so that he has to play for England? Because after Harry Kane, how many strikers do we look at and say, whoa, he's the next Harry Kane? I agree. They shouldn't put pressure on him now that he's going to be our next striker after Harry Kane. But that performance last night, even though it's only 60, 70 minutes, he was fantastic. And maybe if he continues and the manager gives him game time this season, we could be looking in 2 years' time, Jeff, at the Euros and saying he's on that plane and he's the cover for Harry Kane.
Yeah.
Transfer Insiders. We're going to be talking more Chelsea now, just to word on some of the games that are live tonight. We've got Paul Mitchell watching Rangers. They're 1-0 up against Jagiellonia. We'll keep you up to date with that one. 3 other Scottish sides in action. The other 2 0-0, but Motherwell have just scored against HKK Helsinki of Finland. So they're 2-1 up on aggregate. Getting back to Chelsea, though, we were having a great chat just ahead of the break with Louis Beneventi from the Chelsea Echo, and Joel Beya, who's with us here, Arsenal fan and podcaster. Guys, I mean, we were just getting heated up there and we were disturbed by the break. Enzo Fernandez, we've discussed. What about Mudryk?
Well, how long we got? That's a very it's a very interesting case, Mudryk. I mean, as I've already stated, I'm a bit of a passion merchant, right? And I love the story of him sort of coming back, getting his opportunity, going on to do well. We all love an under.
Hashtag like a new signing.
I mean, there is that potentially. But I think for him, if I was in his position and if I was Chelsea, after spending so much money on him as well, I'd want to see him be getting regular football. There's obviously a lot of talk about him being loaned to Strasbourg.
Yeah.
And I think realistically, look, you've had the confidence absolutely kicked out of you. And I think for him, a move where he can just play football would just be so beneficial to him, where he can get regular minutes.
Agreed. And I think the thing with him as well is he's still been practicing his pace. He's been sprinting, so his big asset, which is his speed, is still there. So if he goes to France, he might be rusty on the ball, but he's still going to be fast on the outlet.
Yeah.
So it gives him the chance to rebuild his skill sets, etc. And it's not going to be easy. You've just seen Paul Pogba. You want to talk about transfers. He's had his contract terminated by Monaco, so it doesn't always go right, but I think he needs to go there where there's not as much limelight for him to get his confidence back.
It's funny, we were talking earlier about Beya, myself and Joel. Of course, he signed for Napoli. We were talking about, I remember hearing about him about a year before he signed for Chelsea, and people saying, this guy's a top defender, and came in, it hadn't really happened. Mudryk's another one. I mean, everyone in the world wanted Mudryk, right? Is it fair to say that before all the issues, he never quite hit the heights that people were expecting?
I absolutely agree with that, but I also think it comes down to the environment. I think Chelsea, at the time when he arrived, look, there was all the talk of players didn't even have seats in the dressing room, and he's come from Ukraine, obviously going through a very, very tough time there as well. Left his family. There's so many things off the pitch which I don't think. It's taken a lot of time for me to learn it, but I think, our football fans don't appreciate as much of the sort of everything and the 360 view that you need to get.
Yeah.
I think Mykhailo Mudryk can thrive, whether it be in a Chelsea shirt, I don't know. Would I love it to be in a Chelsea shirt? Absolutely.
A loan move seems to make sense. Joel said France, and there has been talk about Strasbourg, but there's a feeling that Mudryk would prefer to stay in England if he could. So if you are looking to loan him out to another club, with your Chelsea hat on, Louis, what sort of clubs would you be looking at? Presumably you want him to play in the Premier League, but you don't want him to play for a direct rival.
So I think, look, we just talked about his pace. Realistically, you want a team that plays on the counter, a team that's quick and can sort of really turn over quickly. So you're looking further down the table. Who that be, I'm not sure. I think you just want to look at teams that maybe are really lacking a left winger option. Obviously, we have a very good relationship. I mentioned Leon Osman earlier, obviously, but as a I can't believe I used that as an analogy.
If he's listening, he can't believe
I know,
the mentions he's getting.
Leon, I'm talking about you, mate. But I think you've got a great relationship with Everton. Tyreek George playing on the left hand side.
I don't know how you got them to buy Tyreek George off you, because he had 0 assists and 0 goals last season.
Listen,
we against Newcastle in the pre-season friendly last.
We're good at what Arsenal
are, mate.
Arsenal can't.
I hope you're right on this pre-season. You guys just honestly, pre-season sent Newcastle fans into meltdown so far. A 3-1 defeat against Everton, a defeat against Bristol City, a draw with Gateshead, and it's not so. But it's fair to say, to you guys aren't bothered by the results. That makes no difference. No?
Pre-season. I mean, you lot had North pre-season last year, didn't you?
And we lost to Spurs last season.
I love that I'm saying Bristol City and Gateshead, and you've gone, we lost to Spurs.
Yeah.
Like, that's almost worse.
I mean, no, it really is. They're our big rivals. So, I think as long as you sort it out quickly before the season starts, including yourselves, Newcastle, that's when we can start judging. All of these, I'll be really honest with you. Like, I was, for those who don't know, I do a podcast with Rio Ferdinand.
You never mentioned it.
For the new listeners on talkSPORT. I can pick it up. So he says to me, he goes, when they used to do pre-season, right, for Manchester United, he goes, he didn't really care that much. His pre-season was to get his body right, body fit. Didn't care about the results. Usually he says pre-season is where the younger players would shine in. And that's when you get the superstars would emerge. If they get to stay on with the team is another question, but that was purely to get the body in shape. That's it.
Fair enough. Well, Rio would know, because he's won everything, didn't he? Just going back to Mudryk, 2031 his contract lasts till. He was one of those players that signed a 15 million year contract. So there's plenty of time. Chelsea don't need to hurry. So as opposed to loan him out and have a little look, you've still got him for another 25 years or so.
Yeah. I guess we do. Yeah, I've got.
You're a fan of the long contracts, Louis. I'd say by your face you're not.
Oh, it depends who it is.
Do you care? Because all of your players are on long contracts.
Well, I mean, you look at Beya Shield, right? We've just been talking about as a player, he was touted to be this amazing product, and we've now got somebody, and I guess the same can kind of go for Axel Disasi as well, who was obviously touted as well. He hasn't delivered, and then now Chelsea are kind of set to make a loss, whether that be as an, if you're an accountant or not, amortization or for that straight fee.
Yeah.
Chelsea aren't making profit, and obviously their whole thing and this whole model is a bit around, well, we'll sign these players young, we'll develop them, and then we'll sell them for a profit. Chelsea aren't doing that with Beya Shield.
You're doing that with a lot of players, though, so I don't really think there's exceptions. Like I think it's a shared thing. If you go out there tomorrow and you sell Enzo for 120 mil, you've made profit on that because he was bought for 106 mil.
Yeah, well, I mean, there is that.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, whether or not that's the case.
Well, Mudryk hasn't played a competitive game since November 2024. I mean, we're coming up to 2 full years since a game. So good luck to him wherever he does play his football this season, whether it is at Chelsea or whether it's on loan somewhere else. But I want to ask you about Cole Palmer because 10 goals, 1 assist last season. Big season for him coming up. He missed out in the England squad. I guess the argument is he's fresh. He's had a rest.
Yep.
But how much of the emphasis will be on him as far as Xabi Alonso and Chelsea are concerned this season?
Well, I think him missing out on the England squad was actually a blessing in disguise for Cole Palmer. I think the same goes for João Pedro and a lot of the players that I think maybe would have been touted to go with their international teams that didn't quite make it with Chelsea. They've actually had a summer off. I think if you look at the Club World Cup, and obviously the season before, then the Euros before that, if they're European players, it's a lot of football. Yeah. So I think for him, it's kind of a case of I'd like to think, especially with 1 game a week, we're going to see the best of Cole Palmer again. And like I was saying, in terms of how Chelsea playing their football, it's not sideways, backwards, very rigid. I mean, Levi Colwill alluded to that very early on in pre-season, where I was talking about the fact that they feel they can play really simple football, and it's not overzealous in terms of the controlled spaces. And I think if you look at Cole Palmer, if you look at that first season under Pochettino, he thrives in chaos,
mate.
And I think him and Morgan Rogers, by the way, if Chelsea end up playing 3 at the back, which I think is what it might be, if they're in those 2 inside forward positions, I'm really excited to see it.
I was going to say, how do you sort of accommodate them both? Cole Palmer and Morgan Rogers, is that how you would see it then?
I would see it as that. I think, look, obviously Enzo Fernandez, we still need to talk about him, obviously, because there's a lot going on there with him. Yeah. But I think realistically, you're probably going to see those 2 inside those spaces because that's probably how you're going to get the best out of both of them. I mean,
Pedro ahead 210s.
Pedro ahead 210, but similar to how Chelsea played in that 16-17 season with Conte.
Yeah.
Wing back, 3 at the back, double pivot, 210s.
Yeah.
Focal striker, and I think that's going to be how Chelsea be playing.
Won the league playing that way, didn't you?
Listen, I'm not complaining.
They played 1 game a week, guys. That, like when everybody else was hustling and bustling. Anyway, it's happening again.
Yeah, well, there you go. You've said it. You said it.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, I have to put it out there. Cole Palmer, my favourite player in the Premier League.
Is it?
Yeah, he is. Even as a Chelsea, I absolutely love the guy, and I actually think it's worked for him to not go to the World Cup, not because he's had a rest, but because I think he's had time to reflect. And it knocked him down a notch.
Will he feel like he's got a point to prove, Joel?
100%. If you're someone like him, who he's a good footballer, he's wanted to be a footballer his whole life. Like really, I just think sometimes when things happen and they come too quickly, you become this superstar. You don't even have time to sit down and really reflect on what's happened. He's been knocked with England, been knocked with Chelsea this season. I think it's about time now. I saw him training as well in the summer. He looks like he's fit and ready to go.
Can the same be said for Phil Foden then? Do you expect the same reaction from him?
I do, because and I think he's going to be licking his lips at the fact that there's quite a few players going. I don't really think he's going to be wanting to see Enzo Fernandez come in. Not the exact same position, but I feel like this is the time that Phil Foden can show people why, he is the talent that they thought. Because me personally, I think he's all right, but I think he's a little bit overrated.
Let me put you on the spot, Louis. We've already had Joel. This won't surprise you. Joel opened up the show by very confidently saying that he's got no doubt. He's 100% sure that Arsenal are going to go back-to-back and win the title this season.
By April.
By April. Easter title. Easter title.
Look at this fan's face.
I know
can't believe
the confidence is unreal, right? We thought we were confident, Louis, but we ain't. Not standing next to this man. And Louis, what's Chelsea's number? Where are they going to finish?
If you're going to put me on the spot, it's a very tough one. It all depends on Enzo Fernandez, I think.
Right.
I'm really intrigued by that. 5 p.m. by that is weird. I don't agree with that as a transfer deadline. It should be midnight like it always was. But I think if he's in the team, it hinges on where he plays and if Chelsea fit him in.
And if you get the 120 million through the door, say City go, right, you know what, Rodri's gone, Reinders is gone, we're going to use the cash we've got, we're going to sign Enzo Fernandez. Fernandez becomes a Manchester City player tomorrow. Who are you spending your money on?
Adam Wharton.
Okay, nice.
I think Adam Wharton coming in next to Moises Caicedo. Like we talked about that 16-17 season, you had a very capable double pivot. And I think Chelsea needs someone settled next to Moises Caicedo. Enzo Fernandez likes to get forward. Look, 20 goals and assists is going to be hard to replace. But overall, I look at it and I go, if he was to come in and play alongside Caicedo, if it's still Fernandez, by the way, look, Chelsea I think will do well, but I'm not sure about the balance in that midfield. If it was, I don't think we're all doing if buts and maybes here, Adam Wharton or not, I do like to think Chelsea can pretend. I'd go third, because the one game a week I think is going to be a big factor.
Okay.
But it also hinges, I think, for me, I'd like to try and really close the gap on Arsenal Man City. I'm talking within 10 points.
I think that's a really good shout, Adam Wharton.
Yeah, I do. It's funny how every summer one position dominates the window. Like last year, it was all about strikers, wasn't it? A year ago, we were talking about Ekitike and Isak and Sesko and Gyökeres, and everyone was trying to sign a striker. This summer, it's been all about centre midfielders, hasn't it? And there's still plenty of twists in the tail with regards to Enzo, with regards to Rodri and so on.
Are you going to sign any centre midfielders at Newcastle?
You need to.
Well, when you consider the 3 most expensive midfielders that have moved this window are Elliot Anderson, Geordie, former Newcastle, Sandro Tonali, former Newcastle, Bruno Guimaraes, former Newcastle. The reality is, if it wasn't for financial rules, that would be our middle 3 at Newcastle United. But the reality is, because of the rules that they are, that I don't agree with them. You'll not be surprised to hear, but those 3 players are all playing their football elsewhere. But don't get me crying here live on my talkSPORT debut, guys, because that would be a miserable end.
You're doing great
to the show. I appreciate that, Joel. So great. So Chelsea finishing 3rd according to Louis this season. It's been a pleasure to see you, mate.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, boys. Good to see you. Well done on your day, by the way. It's going really, really well.
Still time for it all to go
You'll be fine.
wrong.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for a while.
I know. That's the sad truth. Louis, fantastic to see you, mate. We'll see you very, very soon. And enjoy the rest of the summer. And we'll see what happens with Enzo Fernandez. I'm sure we'll get you on for your reaction on that as well. Next, we're going to be talking all things Manchester United. We're going to be joined by Jay Motti from the Stretford Paddock to talk us through all of that. This is Transfer Insiders. You're listening to talkSPORT.
talkSPORT's Matt Scott, the guy who just heard doing the news there, talking absolute guff because he rattled some cages this morning on breakfast. He listed off the top 10 biggest clubs in the UK. He said Chelsea cheated their way to success, can't be in the top 10, and Spurs have never won a Champions League. So, and he's put them, he's not even in the top 10. They finished 17th for like 2 seasons in a row. I think you needs to remember that Nottingham Forest ain't been in the Premier League for about 15 seasons. So, anyway, Rory, we've asked you to do your top 10. What did you make just on Matt Scott's Chelsea not being in the top 10?
Yeah, I mean, look, before we get into this, I think it's important that I just establish something very clearly. Matt Scott is my friend.
Yeah.
He's somebody who I rate incredibly highly. I think he's got a huge future, and I like him. It is one of the worst things I've ever heard in my entire life, though. All of that being said, now, I think we can just go for the jugular, be completely honest.
Yeah.
It gave me a migraine.
Yeah.
I feel like listening to that list, I've lost IQ points. Having heard that, I'm now thicker because it is the worst list I've ever heard of anything.
No, there's some bad takes on talkSPORT, and we're all likely to come out with some nonsense every now and then.
No, you are. Speak for yourself.
No,
Danny.
you
Speak
are
for
as
yourself.
well.
No, speak for
And, you
yourself.
know, you can back your argument, but when I heard Bill sent me the list, and I just was just like,
yeah, everything
like,
about the
come
list,
on.
everything about
Come
the
on.
list was wrong.
There's clickbait, and then there's just you talking
lunacy.
absolute,
It's like
ridiculous guff.
It's lunacy. It's like, should Max Scott be reading the news, being on talkSPORT, or should he be in Broadmoor?
Welcome back. This is talkSPORT. You're listening to Transfer Insiders with myself, Pete Graves, and Arsenal podcaster Joel Beya, who's with us tonight. Yes, time to talk all things Manchester United. A pleasure to say joining us on the show right now is Jay Motti from Stretford Paddock. Jay, great to see you, mate. How you doing? Enjoying your summer?
Yeah. I was over in Dublin for the game last night, so. Yeah, United are looking all right, looking okay. It's not been too bad on the United front.
It was great to see football in Croke Park as well. A fantastic old stadium there.
Yeah, it was, and it was packed out because I think a few of the pre-season games there's not been as many there, but that was packed out. I think 80,000 fans there, and every game against Leeds, it matters. I know it's a friendly, but there's always a bit of an atmosphere there for the game against Leeds. So yeah, decent performance, and looking forward to the season, but. I could do with a couple more signings, I'll be honest with you.
Right, we'll get into that. I want to ask, how impressed have you been with Manchester United under Michael Carrick in pre-season? Obviously, you got the win against Leeds last night, but overall, what's the vibe like? Myself and Joel in the break, they're just talking about different clubs and the feeling. What's the feeling around Manchester United?
I feel like during pre-season, it's moving in the right direction. You go back to that first game against Wrexham, which was pretty woeful, if we're being honest. I don't think the first team did particularly well. Then we brought out the younger players. They kept the ball well, but it wasn't a very entertaining match. Then you had Rosenborg, who are sort of halfway through their season, struggling a little bit, and we kind of swept them aside. It wasn't a real test. Atletico was a better test, and I feel like we played better. You could say the same against PSG. And Leeds, there's always a bit of bit of fight in those games, even in a friendly, and I feel like United are looking all right. I mean, I don't want to get carried away because I remember the pre-season under Louis van Gaal where we beat everyone, and I was getting a bit giddy, and then the opening day of the season, we played Swansea at home and we lost. So you can't look too much into pre-season, but so far it's looked good. And what I have been impressed with is Youri Tielemans and Andre Santos. Andre Santos in particular has played a few more games than Tielemans for United. They've both looked good in a red shirt. And again, only pre-season, but you want your new signings to come in and look the part, and they do.
Jay, it's Joel Bayer here, your favourite Arsenal fan.
You good?
I'm good,
Always.
thank you. First of all, I want to say I saw on your Instagram page, and I know that you lost someone close to you in Webby. So rest in peace to him. Massive community in Manchester. So I just want to acknowledge that. I want to say Marcus Rashford. Everybody seems to be, I don't want to say excited, but there's questions. Is he going to fit in with the team? Is he back? What's his attitude like? What have you seen so far in the open training session? And do you think he stays at Manchester United?
Well, thank you for the kind words about Webby, Joel. I feel like with Marcus, it's up to him. I don't think with Marcus Rashford, there's a question. You look at some players and you go, are they good enough? He is good enough. We know he's good enough. He scored over 100 goals for Manchester United. He scored big goals, some worldy goals for Manchester United. We know he's got the talent. I don't think there's ever been an argument about that. It's whether he's got that desire, that determination to be a success at United. And that sounds crazy for someone that was, a sort of boiled United fan that came through the academy. But if things are going really well at United, you don't go out on loan, no disrespect to Aston Villa, when you're 26, 27 years old. You don't go out on loan again if things are going really well. There was obviously a bit of an issue as to whether he really wanted to be at Manchester United, whether he was doing the things that you need from a Manchester United player, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. He had obviously an issue with Ruben Amorim, and even before that, there was a couple of issues with Erik Ten Hag. So Manchester United and Marcus Rashford are making the right noises. The noises are he wants to be there. He's looking all right in training. I think your pal Rio Ferdinand's been there to see him. So everything looks all right, but we won't know, I don't think anyway, until probably the game against Hull.
Jay.
If Marcus Rashford,
Jay, I think the issue is it's not potentially just Marcus Rashford, it's also the United fan base. How do you take it? Because if, for example, he skies one over at the Stretford end, are we going to get the moans and groans like, oh my gosh, and then all of a sudden that starts messing with his confidence? It's also to do with your relationship with him. Could you agree?
100%, and the fan base is very divided at the minute. What I will say about that, though, is we've been here before, and we've seen it with players. I remember Phil Jones, and I'm not trying to be funny here. Phil Jones barely kicked a ball for United for about 2 years. He has a good 45 minutes against Wolves, and everyone loves him. Paul Pogba, everyone had turned against him. He didn't want to be here, all the rest of it. He has a good cameo against Spurs, and everyone backs him. So it works both ways. If you play well and you start scoring goals, the fans will get behind you. If you look like you're not interested, if you look like you're not doing the things that Michael Carrick's asking you to do, if you are not just missing chances but not showing that energy and effort,
Jay, I think this is different. I think this is different.
The fans will turn against him.
I think this is different. I think the relationship that you guys have involving Marcus Rashford, it runs a little bit deeper. I don't think it's good enough for Marcus Rashford to be playing well and not maybe scoring as much goals. I think the standard is so high because he had a season where he was absolutely flying just before he got his new contract. I think you guys are going to hold him to that standard. And I think if he doesn't score the same amount of goals and Marcus Rashford only gets 12 to 14 Premier League goals next season, I don't think you guys are going to be very happy again.
I don't even think it's necessarily the amount of goals he gets. I think with Marcus Rashford, I've seen Marcus Rashford, and this is true, and you can go and check it out, score one of the best goals I've ever seen against Manchester City at the Etihad from about 25 yards out, right? Hits the sort of bottom of the crossbar, bounces in. A worldie. People were slagging him off because after that goal, he wasn't pressing, he wasn't showing effort, he wasn't showing energy. It's not all about the goals of Marcus Rashford. A big issue that people have had, and you'll see in the clips, Joel, you're on socials as much as I am. Yeah. You've seen the clips of him where it looks like he's not pressing, where he's not tracking his runner, where he's not doing the things that you need.
Luton.
You see, Luton, exactly. So I think it's not just about goals for Marcus. It's about whether we're seeing that energy and that effort. Marcus Rashford could score fewer goals than he did in that season under Eric Ten Hag, but if he's showing energy and effort, and more importantly, if United are winning football matches, the fans will stomach that. So it's up to Marcus, man. It's in his hands. I think he's got the talent. He's just got to apply himself. And I think if he does, he'll be loved again. He's been loved before and he can be loved again.
What will the Manchester United fans be expecting as far as a league position finish under Michael Carrick? I mean, he did a great job, Carrick, last season. He's got the gig. He's got the keys to Old Trafford. What are the fans expecting? What would look like success?
I mean, if we're being honest, I feel like United really and truly need to consolidate ourselves as a Champions League team. You see it with other teams. You saw it with Arsenal under Arteta. When they got their act together, it was second. You get that sort of feeling around the place that we're not just there to make up numbers now. We are someone who is regular in the Champions League and then challenging for titles. The trouble Manchester United have got in a minute, we're not regularly in the Champions League. We've been in the Champions League, once in the last 4 seasons. So we need to cement ourselves as a team and a club that is in the Champions League regularly. And I think there's an opportunity to do that. That should be almost the minimum, because I know we haven't spent a lot of money, but if you look at the teams around us, you look at the likes of Chelsea, Spurs, if you want to count them, City, Liverpool, all got new managers, all going through this transition. There's only Arsenal, of course, who are one of the sort of top teams, and maybe Villa, who have that sort of stability. So whilst there's a part of me, I'm always going to be a deluded United fan. You know me, and I'll be like, you know what, we've got a chance here, we could do a madness. I think the most important thing is to solidify ourselves as a Champions League team. Get that consistency where it's not a bonus and a shock when you make the Champions League. It's what's expected.
Okay. Jay, great stuff, mate. Thanks so much for that.
Thanks a lot, lads.
Really
Cheers, Jay.
It, buddy. Right, let's just head back to Ibrox. Rangers in Europa League qualifying action tonight. Big game for Derek McInnes against Jagiellonia. Paul Mitchell's been watching this one. Paul, they were leading 1-0. Is that still the case?
It's sadly not the case for Rangers. It's one apiece here. Jagiellonia have scored on the counter-attack. Rangers were pressing at a free kick on the left-hand side, punched away by the goalkeeper, and all of a sudden the break was on. They're very calm on the ball at this Polish side. Lovely counter-attack, back post cross. Nick Prelek was there, and a little spell with Oxford United. People might remember him for there, but the man from Maribor couldn't miss at the back post, guided the ball into the back of the net after 65 minutes. So Rangers now trailing on aggregate. One apiece on the night, but it's Rangers 2, Jagiellonia 3 on aggregate as it stands.
Goodness me, that would ramp up the pressure, or even in these early stages on Derek McInnes. If he's got 20 minutes to try and find a goal there at Ibrox. We'll keep in touch with Paul. Just elsewhere very quickly, Hearts are 1-0 up against Benfica, but they're going out. They're 6-2 down on aggregate. Motherwell, a 2 to the good against Helsinki, which means that they've actually gone 3-1 up on aggregate and looking good, while Hibernian's game has finished all square, 0-0 that one. They go through against the North Macedonian side, Skendia. So a mixed night for the teams in Scotland. Plenty more still to come here on Transfer Insiders as well. We're going to continue to take your calls. Please get in touch with us. We are 03717 22 3344. Myself and Joel would love to hear from you. This is the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
History is going to repeat itself. No, I never go out on a limb and talk like this about Chelsea. I said Arsenal win the title for the last 3 seasons, and eventually they did. I'm going Chelsea. You Gooners, you should be fearful of Chelsea.
This is it, you see. He's been down the Wimpole clinic, and all of a sudden...
What has he been eating in the Maldives? That's what I want to know.
I don't think it's that.
Now,
Don't get me wrong.
What has he been smoking?
Do you know what it is?
He's talking absolute guff.
It's everything, no, Jay. It's everything combined.
Everything about him I hate already.
This is...
His hair, his tan...
his hair. Yeah, no,
the nonsense he's coming out with early doors. Like, he's been back for one show, and he's come back and said, Chelsea are going to win the title.
Yeah, people go away. Right, I think people, as soon as you put a bit of hair back on someone's head, and look, let's be fair, that is a beautiful transplant, right? It's up there. You know, when you think about footballers that have had transplants.
Do you know what, mate? I've seen signs.
It's good, isn't it?
It's all right.
It's a good transplant.
It's not bad.
And I think he's now. Yeah, he's definitely
died.
He's definitely died.
Yeah, he's
definitely died. Of course he has. But he's now just like a new man. He's got this sort of housewife's favourite thing going on. He knows that his sex appeal's back. He knows. I can tell. You know, he's sitting there. He's obviously been in the gym when he's been in the Maldives. He's got himself a bit of colour. He's got the beautiful barnet now.
Bit of a dilf.
This is it. Yeah. And then I was talking about him being the housewife's favourite, and he said something like this. Do you know what he said to me? He went, the problem is, if you are the housewife's favourite, it's generally the older girls. You know, you don't really necessarily want the old. I went, you happy to be the old? Do you like the older girls? He went, no, not really.
Over the years, we've been treated to some amazing exhibition events in sports. Some become iconic, but many fail to live up to the hype. So what are some of the most anticlimactic exhibitions? Technically, it wasn't an exhibition because it ended up being sanctioned as a pro fight, but it basically was. 2024 saw Mike Tyson return to the ring to fight YouTuber Jake Paul. The event, which Paul won, was streamed by 65 million people on Netflix, making it the most streamed sporting event ever at the time. But many complained of buffering and freezing. And as for the fight itself, well, it was considered an entertaining disaster. I mean, it wasn't prime Tyson. He was 58. And after the fight, Paul, who was 27 at the time, said he'd actually gone easy on Tyson towards the end. Now, Mayweather-McGregor in 2017 was a better watch, despite Mayweather going rope-a-dope early on, but it was way too expensive. Pay-per-view was 75 quid. And in the stadium, the cheapest ticket was over 370. Now, this next one you could have watched for free, only because the pay-per-view had streaming issues, so they had to open it out. I'm talking about Tiger versus Phil in 2018, which was nicknamed The Match. Massive names and massive rivals going head-to-head. On paper, it worked. In reality, it didn't. The two players were mic'd up, so we all thought we'll get fascinating insight. We'll be able to hear them insult each other for 18 holes. But what we actually got was more heavy breathing and sniffles. And for two GOATs, the golf itself was bang average. And speaking of GOATs, let's end with Messi and Ronaldo. In 2023, an exhibition between PSG and the Riyadh All-Star 11 saw them share a pitch for possibly the final time. To be fair, it was a goal fest, which PSG won 5-4, and Messi and Ronaldo both scored. But it was obvious they were past their prime. El Clasico, this was not. And with it being in Saudi, there were more sports washing claims. So there you have it. Exhibitions that have let us down. And I didn't even have time to mention the Community Shield.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Transfer Insiders here on talkSPORT. My name is Pete Graves. I'm alongside the brilliant Joel Beya, big Arsenal fan, elite podcaster as well, and huge pal of Rio Ferdinand, which he hasn't actually mentioned yet, which is incredible. Thanks so much for being with us tonight. Please get in touch with us. We're going to talk Newcastle next, which I'd love to say I've been looking forward to all night, but I haven't really. We're into the last hour, Joel. Can you believe it?
Yeah, it goes so quick being with you, mate.
It's by, mate.
Honestly, just flying by.
Chemistry.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, it is, mate. It is. 03717 223344. That's 03717 223344. Get in touch with us, Newcastle fans. Are you worried about this season? Joel, from an outsider's point of view, before you ask me, I want to ask you, looking at everything that's happened at Newcastle, the departures from the playing side, Eddie Howe's gone and been replaced by Matthias Geisler. Do you have some sympathy for the Newcastle fans from the outside?
I'm worried. I really am. I'm looking at the setup and I'm thinking, what's going to happen? That's not even including if you get hit with injuries, which all teams do. You know, I'm looking at your forward positioning. I think Asula's a good player. I think the fact that you started relying on him a lot is going to be really good. I was saying last week, I didn't know that he was in the Manchester United Academy when he was younger.
That's right.
I didn't know that.
Well, that came to the fore after he scored that brilliant winner against Manchester United in the last minute at St James's Park, and then the following day, sort of photos emerging of him in a Manchester United kit. I actually sent one to Gary Pallister because there was a picture of Gary Pallister awarding Asula as the player of the course or something.
Really?
And I sent it to Pally, and he replied saying, "Yeah, another one slipped through the net." But no, Asula's very raw. He's very raw, and it probably says more about Nick Voltemade and Johan Wisser that they were relying on Asula last season. You said yourself you spoke to Wisser on your own podcast not so long ago.
Yeah.
Had a decent World Cup for Congo. I know you've got some Congolese heritage as well yourself.
Fully, yeah.
And that's so. How impressed were you with him in the World Cup?
I think in the World Cup he was fantastic, and I was very happy with him on a personal level because, again, I sat down with him in May, talking about Newcastle, talking about World Cup stuff with the Congo, and it was very obvious when it comes to the Congo, full of confidence. He was the man. He knows he's the man. He knows he's the main figure, etc. But then when it came to Newcastle, you could tell that there was still a little bit missing. He wanted to show the fans that he still got a lot to offer. He talked a lot about the injury, kept mentioning that he's a fighter and he wants to make things right. So he wasn't delusional to the season he was having. I think now the question is he going to be able to prove himself to Geisler?
I think that's key. And Wisser scored a couple of goals the other night against Valencia. He came off the bench and scored twice. But then he missed a good opportunity against Everton. You mentioned it, the game against Arsenal. Wisser had a great opportunity late on to nick some points there, but he missed. He fluffed his lines. And that happened too many times last season, but he'd had no pre-season.
Yeah.
He had a bad injury playing for Congo, and he never got back.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big season for him, big season for Elanga. But I just feel Matthias Geisler's taken this job on. He's yet to make a signing as Newcastle manager. They have signed a handful of players, but clearly with the big money departures, you would think there'd be some money to spend there, and Geisler would be able to spend it because Alexander Isak's gone out, 125 million last summer to Liverpool. Tonali's followed him. That's basically 100 million to Tottenham.
Yeah.
Bruno to your team, 75 million to Arsenal. Gordon's gone to Barcelona, just shy of 70 million plus add-ons, but then there's been other departures as well. Longstaff to Leeds was 15 million. Lloyd Kelly, they got 15 million from Juventus for him. So there has been a churn of players going out. Alan Saint-Maximin brought a fee in as well. So there has been a churn of players going out, but the money that's been spent, certainly last summer, with Voltemada, with Visser, with Alanga, it didn't pay off. They brought in a lot of young players this summer, but you just feel like they need a bit of experience, and I feel like they need a statement signing before the window shuts.
They need centre midfielders. That's what they need more than anything. I'm so worried for them when I look. Yes, I've been teasing you about them, but I love Newcastle as a city because every time I go there, I look at it and I go, wow, you guys are about your football, and the age range. You've got young kids swarming to go to the games.
Yeah,
like I've never seen anything like it in my life. You go to St. James's Park, and that stadium is built for Champions League football. I've been there. I've seen you guys play Champions League just for the fun of it. I've travelled to Newcastle to watch. I remember the last game was Newcastle versus AC Milan, and you just think, wow, what a club. And I just don't understand what it is. I think since this change of ownerships, it's just been very up and down.
Financial rules are the issue, Joel. I think that's been Newcastle's biggest problem since the start, and it's not just Newcastle. It's Aston Villa. You got to throw Sunderland in as well, as they're another massive team up in the northeast, brilliantly supported, big stadium, had a fantastic season last season.
They beat you twice for the first time.
Beat Newcastle twice. Finishing 7th, getting Europa League football, qualifying for Europe, they deserve a mention. They absolutely had a brilliant season, and they've got a brilliant manager in Régis Lebris for me. And second season for them will be the tough one, because all of a sudden teams are going to take them very, very seriously this year, and they've got to cope with European football. And I think they're facing their own problems in the transfer market due to the financial rules. But Newcastle need players through the door. We understand that Amar Dedic is close. Personal terms agreed with a 23-year-old fullback, but he started for Benfica tonight.
Yeah, does that worry you by any chance? Because normally when you know someone's really close to signing for your club, the other club don't even want to play him. They don't want to risk injury.
Absolutely. It makes you think, we're being told everywhere, and our transfer team saying it's close, but it can't be that close if he's playing right now against Hearts.
Yeah.
And it's a game, by the way.
Yeah.
Benfica was 6-1 up on aggregate.
Do you know?
Why would you play him?
Crazy. Do you know much about him? I'm not saying that you're there watching your Portuguese football, but
I watch a lot of football, a lot of European football, mate. But like always, as soon as your team gets linked with a player, you do a little bit more digging, and it doesn't take long before the YouTube video
highlight reels start
flying around. So you have a look at that. But no, look, I mean, for me, he's a right back. Newcastle have got Tino Livramento there, who would be the first choice right back, but he's had his injury problems. Lewis Miley's played there. When Miley plays there, Lewis Miley can play anywhere. He's unbelievable player. You talk about midfield. It's a big season for Lewis Miley. Whether he's playing in midfield or whether Geisler decides to start him at right back, it's a huge season for him. His younger brother Mason Miley, by the way, has been involved in pre-season as well. I hear great things about him. The whole Miley family. There's
I can't believe this. You said they were all a footballing family. I didn't know that.
All good football. It's quite incredible. And I've seen Mason play a couple of times for the youth team. He's been involved this season. A very exciting future for him. And there's a younger one coming as well. But the Miley family, very talented family. But Lewis Miley, who's of course he's played for Newcastle a number of games now, big season for him. But I just feel like they need some experience in there, because the players that they have signed in, the likes of Sam Sturr, who's a top young player from Ajax, is 18. I think Bamba's come in. He's a centre midfielder. I think he's 20. They've got Torre, who's a winger. He's 20 or maybe 21 as well. All of the players that they're bringing in are 18, 19, 20. So I think that they need to try and find experience, because when you're losing players, experienced international players like Sandro Tonali, Italy international, Bruno Guimaraes, Brazil international, Anthony Gordon, England international, you've got to somehow try and find a way to replace that. And I just hope that Geisler's given the sort of backing to do that. Otherwise, I think it'll be a tough season for Newcastle. I know before us, Jamie O'Hara and Darren Bent saying that they don't worry about Newcastle being involved in the relegation scrap, but there's every chance. If the first two games for Newcastle, Liverpool at home, Tottenham away are the first two.
Yeah.
So you've got Isaac at St James's Park on week 1. You then travel to play against Sandro Tonali and Spurs on week 2.
Yeah.
The results in those 2 games could be massive, because if you have
6 points at the end of the season that you wish you had.
this, you know what? And I think the results and the performances matter more than the result. The performances matter more than the results, should I say? Because I think if those 2 games, if Liverpool are going to come to St James's Park, it's going to be a hugely emotional game. It's the first game since Kevin Keegan's passing. Keegan was a legend for both Liverpool and Newcastle. There's going to be lots of tributes to Kevin Keegan on the day. His family are going to be at the game. It's going to be an emotional day for the Newcastle supporters. Yeah. The team have to try and find a performance on the day to satisfy those supporters who are going to be very emotional.
My question for you, quickly, Geisler, the new manager.
Yeah.
Are you confident in him? I mean, I've heard a few good things, good potential stuff, but I'll be lying if I said that I was really watching my was it Saudi League?
Al Ahly,
that, I'll be lying if I was to say that I've been watching my Saudi League football, pro football. So, what's your thoughts on him so far?
So, firstly, I was of the section of supporters that was very disappointed to see Eddie Howe leave. I understand Eddie's reasoning for it, and I think, look, the supporters by the end were split. There was a lot of fans that were ready for a fresh start, something new, and I've got every respect for those supporters in their own point of view. I felt like Eddie was the right man who could have turned it around. That was my personal opinion. I think fans were very much split with regards to that, but clearly there'd been a poor start at pre-season. They'd drawn against Gateshead, they lost against Bristol City, and in the wake of that, Eddie Howe's decided that his time's come to an end. I don't think it probably helped Eddie that he's seen the likes of Tonali and Gordon and Bruno disappearing from the club that he's built up from the scratch, basically. When I heard it was Matthias Geisler, I was aware of sort of what he'd achieved at Salzburg and then at Al Ahly. He wouldn't have been my immediate choice. I probably would have thought they probably needs a safe pair of hands, someone with Premier League experience. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what? Why not? Why not? Give it a go. Give it a go. There's a certain excitement. Same with the players that they brought in, the young players. They brought in a young manager. It's fresh. I just feel like it's going to go one of 2 ways.
I was going to say.
It's either going to be an absolute masterstroke from the board, or it's going to be a disaster. And I just think there's going to have to be a bit of patience.
You don't have patience, mate. Like I don't think you can sit there and go, "I'll give him time." I think if it doesn't work for him, he's a manager with no real skin in the Premier League. No skin in the Premier League, like you've just said. He's going to be out there really quickly.
You've got to leave it. You've got to try and give it until you've got to give it a few months. You've got to give it a bit of time to see, because he said last night after the defeat against Everton in pre-season, he said that the players aren't ready. They're not where he needs them to be, and I think that's tough because time's running out.
I was going to say it's the Premier League, mate.
Well, less than
those
2 weeks away from the
excuses,
opening game.
that's not what you want to be hearing if you're a Newcastle fan. If I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm going, players are not ready. Well, of course they're not ready. We ain't even got enough players. So I don't know. The more that I'm speaking with you and I'm listening to what you're saying, he could be gone by November.
When you're looking at the league, and this time of the season, everyone's making predictions, and you're looking at, you've already said your team, Arsenal, are going to win the league by April. But when you look at the bottom end, regularly we see the 3 teams that come up go straight back down. Yeah. We've seen it 3 out of the last 4 seasons. Last season, Leeds United and Sunderland bucked the trend, and they were able to stay in the Premier League, and well done to them. Do you see this season returning to the 3 clubs that are coming up, going back down again, or do you think that a couple of teams could get dragged into it?
I think a couple of teams could definitely get dragged into it. I think, do I think Newcastle are going to get relegated? No, I do think you'll have enough to withstand that. But, if Palace don't sort things out, Palace is supposed to be my local club. If they don't sort things out, they could be in a little bit of trouble themselves. You look at teams. Wow. Yeah, I mean, you look at teams like, I'd say, Everton, selling a few of their top players. Just don't really know what's going to happen there. It's not as clear. I mean, I do think those teams coming up from the Championship, they are going to struggle.
Hull, Ipswich, Coventry.
Yeah.
And Coventry and Ipswich have spent quite a bit of money as well.
And you know what? I feel like with Frank Lampard's experience as well, I think that counts for a lot in the Premier League. different teams, of course, before he was managing Chelsea, of course, and Everton. But I look and I go, I think Crystal Palace could be in trouble.
Okay,
Yeah.
called it here, Crystal Palace, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, they had a fantastic season last season. They've had a fantastic few years, haven't they? But it's certainly a time of transition for Crystal Palace.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see how they get on. All right, Joel, great stuff. Look, we're going to take a break now. Next, we're going to be talking Manchester City. We're going to be speaking to lifelong Manchester City fan from the Manchester City Show podcast. That's Nigel Rothband. He'll be talking about Rodri, about Reinders, and about Enzo Fernandez as well. That's next. You're listening to the Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT.
talkSPORT reporter Max Scott has sent the callers crazy. He has done his top 10 clubs in Britain. Have a listen if you missed it. The highlights of it are there is no Chelsea and Tottenham in the top 10. Celtic are above Arsenal. Forest are 5th above Villa in 6th. No Rangers. So let's head to the phone lines now and get your thoughts on 03717 22 3344. Clive is a Chelsea fan, and before we say it in Clive, Chelsea is a big club for me, a big, big club. Morning, Clive.
Morning, Clive.
Morning. This guy's an idiot. I mean, he's going back saying about Brian Clough and Forest. Yeah, that's what they won then. But if you go back, he's saying, I mean, I'm a Chelsea supporter and they're a big club. But saying Man City weren't big before now is ridiculous. You remember Man City in the 60s, Franny Lee, Mike Summerby, they were a big
Colin
club.
Bell.
Always a big club.
Colin Bell, yeah.
What a player. What a player. You know what I'm saying? He's picking a little bit of history. You can't say Forest are in the top 10 clubs.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Well, when I think of Clive, when I think of big clubs, I think of support, travelling support.
Yeah.
You know,
precisely.
being up there with great players and challenging Europe. Maybe not necessarily winning it, but you know, they're big clubs for me.
That's right. Yeah, big clubs. Man City's always been a big club. Chelsea's always been a big club.
Welcome back. You are listening to Transfer Insiders with me, Pete Graves, and Joel Beya, top Arsenal fan and elite podcaster as well. Don't forget to keep in touch with us. 03717 22 3344 is the number. And now we're going to be talking all things Manchester City with Nigel Rothband, who's a lifelong Manchester City fan and from the Manchester City Show podcast. Nigel, thanks so much for being with us. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Pete. Good to see you.
Great to see you as well. Let's just start with Enzo Maresca. How impressed have you been so far from what you've seen with the new gaffer?
Well, we've seen him before, of course, haven't we? He was on Pep's staff, of course, for a short time as well. So he's not a stranger to the Etihad. And I think the pre-season tour in Asia, sort of Seoul and so on, has gone reasonably well. Won a couple of games and drew a game and played some exciting football, but I don't think he can sort of take a huge amount from pre-season friendlies. And I guess time will tell, but replacing Pep Guardiola is pretty much an impossible task, isn't it, for anybody? He's given us everything at Manchester City. We've won every trophy. We've dominated our league. I went to 2 Champions League finals, winning one of them. I mean, literally, it's just been the most wonderful journey. and this man is impossible to replace. So I don't envy him, but we wish him luck, and time will tell. We'll see how we get on.
Do you think there'll be much difference under Maresca, or do you think he's going to just try and emulate Pep?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Who knows? I think I think he does play a different style of football. I think he's very keen to play these very wide wingers. So I think we will see really wide wingers hugging the touchline. Whether he will play the sort of football, this possession football that Pep was obsessed by, time again will tell. Who knows? But I think it's an exciting time. Let's hope we don't go in a downward spiral like some maybe other clubs who have lost their amazing managers who have won everything have disappeared. Let's hope that doesn't happen. I don't think it will. I think the club is so well run. I think the club has had their eye on Enzo Maresca for quite a while. I don't think it was a huge surprise when he was appointed. And just the way the club operates, just the way it is organised from top to bottom, this has been in the planning for a long time. So you imagine there'll be a nice, smooth transition. He even looks like him as well, doesn't he? So not a lot needs to change in that regard either. But wait with bated breath to see what happens.
Yeah, wait for the first player who's going to call him Pep in training. It's probably happened already.
Probably Turkey.
Yeah. What about Rodri? How do you solve a problem like Rodri? Obviously, clearly there was interest initially in the summer from Real Madrid. Now Barcelona seem to be edging closer to a deal. Do you want to see that one wrapped up sooner rather than later, or would you like to see City dig their heels in?
Listen, I think it's gone so far. I think it just the writing's on the wall. Sadly, I think Rodri's going to go, and that's a real shame because you will remember the period of time when Rodri was injured, and when he didn't play, we didn't win, and when he played, we won. And he's been such an influence and such a magnificent footballer. Manchester City has never had a Ballon d'Or winner before, and it was a well-deserved award, and someone who has been one of the greatest players in a sky blue shirt that I've ever seen. But clearly is in the autumn of his career. He didn't have a brilliant season. He, of course, then went off to the World Cup and pretty much was the best player in the tournament and lifted the World Cup with Spain, which is just incredible. But I suspect that he's on his way out, and if the player doesn't want to stay, then he probably needs to go. And it's the price that I find fascinating, and I'm curious that there's just this 55 million, is it? And City are trying to hold on for 60. I think he's worth a huge amount more than that. You know what we paid for Elliot Anderson? Some of the other transfers that have happened in recent years of players of his quality still got a year to go in his contract. We should be getting sort of 70, 80 million for a player like Rodri, surely. Even though he's 30, I think now, he's still got a few years in him. But I suspect he's on his way out. And if we get that sort of money, it does mean, even though we've got Elliot Anderson from Forest, it does mean there's an opportunity to get one or two others, because as you've been discussing on tonight's show, with Reinders potentially on his way out as well, and with Bernardo Silva, of course, leaving at the end of last season, it does mean that we will have a requirement for a number of others midfielders to fill that berth.
I mean, talking about Rodri still, who would have thought he would have been so colossal after Fernandinho's exit? I mean, we didn't think there was going to be a player better than Fernandinho, so well done to him on that. You just spoke about Enzo Fernandez. Is that a player that you want to see at your club, Manchester City?
I don't think he's a player I would have kind of listed if you sort of been on a couple of weeks ago and said, give us a list of the players you want, Nigel. I don't think he'd be in my top 10, to be honest. But when you think about it, and you think about the connection he has with our new manager, he's clearly a magnificent footballer. Off the pitch, there's some dubious things that he said and been involved in, which, of course, means that a number of fans won't like much of that, and I don't like all of it, I have to say. But there's no doubt he's a great footballer, and if he can play with the new manager, then I think potentially we've got a winner there. And we do need reinforcement in that department, for sure, as I said before. And he's the sort of player who I think could do a job for us, absolutely.
Reinders off to Saudi, 61 million euros. I mean, decent fee, Nigel, but did he have enough time to sort of show his worth at City?
No, I think that's right. I don't think he did. I think he wasn't given a fair chance. And early doors, it was that first game against Wolves in his debut for City, had a magnificent game. I think he scored a couple of goals and we thought, this is it. He's a great player. And he didn't really have his chance at City. I don't think Pep gave him much of a chance. He did show some class in short bursts, but not consistently. But he wasn't given that opportunity. And clearly, Enzo Maresca's looking to build a squad around certain players, and maybe he doesn't see him fitting in. And if he wants to go off, sounds like we're going to be getting more for him for what we paid for him, which is I find interesting as well. But I can't see him hanging around. I see just the writing seems to be on the wall, and I guess he's probably on his way out as well. Which is why I say we are in the market for one or two decent midfielders.
Now, Joel here has said that it's going to be an easy run for Arsenal winning the league this year. He reckons it's going to be wrapped up by Easter. Please put him in his place. City are going to run them close, aren't they?
Is that the Joel that said they were going to win the quadruple as well at some point last season?
That's a different Joel, mate. That's a different Joel. This is a new Joel here.
Sounds like the kind of thing Joel would definitely say, mate.
Absolutely. No, I remember the quadruple, then it was the treble, then it was the double, and in the end they just got over the line.
Yeah.
And they were going to win it eventually, weren't they? And they did. So congratulations to Arsenal. They're probably favourites again, I think, just because of the fact they got over the line. Arteta knows how to win it now. City are in transition. We've got a new manager. So I think Arsenal are still firm favourites. I think City will be in the mix. But, as far as I'm concerned, winning a trophy is not the most important thing for us this season. We've had that amazing...
Oh, come on. You're playing it down. I know that trick.
Hear me out, Joel, for a minute. Hear me out. What I'm saying is you've got a brand new manager coming in. We're in transition. Replacing Pep is going to be awfully difficult. So, let's beat Liverpool twice. Again, that'd be good. So let's get that over the line. Let's beat the Reds from just outside Manchester as well. Give Arsenal a run for money. And let's play some good football. Let's bed in some new talent. But I do have very low expectations of any trophies this year. Genuinely, I do. So well done on winning it twice in 2 years, getting two. We did 4 in a row, you might remember, actually.
I'm still waiting for those 115 charges, mate.
Well, you did call them alleged ones earlier on.
Yeah.
So let's stick with that. And innocent until proven guilty, as you know, Joe.
Quite right. Manchester City denying all wrongdoing there. Absolutely must be said. Nigel, thank you so much. Enjoy the season, mate, and the rest of pre-season. What's left, we'll watch with bated breath, see what happens with Enzo Fernandez before tomorrow's 5 p.m. deadline, whether he does become a Manchester City player. Let's just head back to Ibrox because it sounds like it's been another tough night for Derek McInnes and Rangers. They're in Europa League qualifying action tonight against the Polish side, Jagiellonia. But Paul Mitchell's been watching this. Bad news, is it, Paul?
It is. They're no longer in the Europa League. They dropped down to the conference playoff where they play Jablonec of the Czech Republic. The reason for that is Rangers, who'd led at half-time by 1-0. Lawrence Shanklin from the penalty spot after 18 minutes offered virtually nothing in the second 45 minutes. Very, very strange indeed. Jagiellonia Białystok really just were comfortable in the second half. They looked composed and they fancied themselves to get a goal, which they did on the break after 65 minutes. Lovely cross deep to the back post, and Nick Prelec was there to head the ball home. That was one apiece. I'm just looking at my notes just now. Rangers had a great chance after 70 minutes when the ball was presented to them inside their opponent's penalty area, and they made nothing of it. They butchered the chance. Apart from that, a Majowski glancing header that went wide, never really looked like troubling the goalkeeper, and Dragicevic with a shot again, nothing special. Normally, Rangers 5 minutes to go, they're one down, they need a goal effectively in the tie. You would expect them to sweep forward majestically. It just wasn't there. Never believed for a minute that Rangers would get the second goal they needed tonight. At the moment, it's the red and yellow. Amazingly, they look rather like Partick Thistle colours, which won't please Rangers fans either. They're getting the pictures taken on their far side here at Ibrox. They continue in the Europa League, but more problems for Derek McInnes. 4 games without a win, out of the Europa League, and they've got a big League Cup tie on Sunday here against St Mirren. It's finished on the night. Rangers 1, Jagiellonia 1. The Rangers go out 3-2 on aggregate.
Paul, thank you very much for your company tonight. So bad night for Rangers and Derek McInnes. Bad night as well for Hearts, although they drew 1-1 against Benfica, but they've lost 7-2 in the Europa League as well. But more positive in the Conference League qualifiers, with Hibs and Motherwell both getting the points that they needed, or the result they needed, should I say, to go through. So well done to Hibs and Motherwell. Just listen to Nigel there and saying trophies aren't important there for Manchester City.
He's playing it down, mate. He knows what he's doing. Secretly inside, he's panicking. That's what he's doing. He's panicking and he's just styling it out.
Great stuff. Right, plenty more to get through as well in the final half an hour of the show. So do stay with us. This is talkSPORT. This is Transfer Insiders.
Who's winning the title?
Don't know. I don't know. I want to know what you think of this because I haven't got a clue. I really haven't. I think it's one of the most hardest calls to make we've had in recent years.
The thing is about Manchester City, I wonder without Pep how different it'll be.
Yeah, and if they lose Rodri.
Exactly. You wonder what it's going to be like,
Yeah.
but then you never write them off. Arsenal, I think, look like the most complete team.
Gabriel injured though
This
for
is
5
true,
months.
For 5 months.
And Trossard going out. I don't like the Trossard sale. I really don't. I think he's such a big, influential player for them. I can't believe they've sold him.
I know, but then Guimaraes came on in.
Big signing. Like him a lot.
But then I also look at Manchester United and I wonder, but Chelsea, I think, Jason's right. I
Yeah.
don't think we should be sleeping on it at all.
No. We could have a 5 or 6 horse race this season.
Yeah.
That would be incredible. It really would. I don't want to see somebody run away with it.
Go on then, though. But Jason looked down the camera and delivered that it will be Chelsea.
I know.
So who is it, Ben? Put your neck on the line.
I'm going to say Man United. I do. I think Man United. I think the last season's form has set into motion a style of play and an expectation of what them players have to deliver week in, week out for Manchester United.
But they've got Champions League. They're back in Champions League.
They're back in Champions League.
I think they've got enough.
I think if they can add another one or two, Man United are definitely within a shout. But they need to add 1 or 2 big uns. But the problem nowadays is if you're going to add 1 or 2 big uns, then it's 200 million quid.
Mhm.
Liverpool need a couple big uns.
However, I mean, we do know that Manchester United look like they have something left to spend.
This is Transfer Insiders on talkSPORT with me, Pete Graves, and Arsenal fan and broadcaster Joel Beya. And this is your whistle-stop tour of the latest transfer talk from today. Let's start with Chelsea's Enzo Fernandez and the deadline that they've given Manchester City to put a deal on the table. talkSPORT's senior football correspondent Ben Jacobs gave us the latest.
Yeah, so both Chelsea and Manchester sources have told talkSPORT that there hasn't been a bid as of now, but there is this deadline, 5 p.m. on Friday. And from Chelsea's perspective, this is right to us. If you're Manchester City or another club, pay 120 million fixed fee. That's been their price since before the window opened. And if Manchester City do that, by 5 o'clock, then Enzo Fernandez will be a Manchester City player, a domino that could then well see Rodri go to Barcelona. And as we heard in the news, Tierney Reinders off to Saudi Arabia with Al Qadsiya. If it gets to 5:01, Chelsea's position is quite firm here, that then Enzo Fernandez is not for sale, the price comes off the table, and the earliest that they will revisit a potential exit is in summer. So nothing in January. And this feels like a power play from Chelsea to make sure that ahead of the new Premier League season, there's no distractions.
Joel, Enzo Fernandez, do you see him signing for Manchester City before that deadline or not?
Do you know, I say no, only because I don't think Manchester City are going to like the way they seem to be being told what to do, being bullied and what to do. This is a team that has dominated the Premier League over the last 10 years, especially with Pep, right? So why are they just all of a sudden going to be given this deadline? To me, it sounds as if they're being commanded to do something. And if, I don't know, like, I just don't see the logic of it. Like, so what if it dragged into next week? What's wrong with that? The window's still open. You know, like all this 5 p.m. It's not the end of the flipping window, mate.
People are making their own deadline.
Honestly, it's ridiculous. And I think just because of that, it just sounds like you don't really want to do business with them in general. And I think you have to be careful because those two clubs have players that, you know, could be doing, you know, merry-go-rounds could be going on there, and it could be in each other's favour. So I don't see why this deadline has come out out of the blue.
Chelsea, literally out of the blues. Reinders and Rodri out, Enzo Fernandez in. Would that represent good business for City?
Yes, it would. I think it's all to do with the relationship with the player. I think Enzo Fernandez moving to Manchester City will be good for Maresca. It will be good for his era. And you got to remember as well, when you're a manager, you want someone that you have on your side. Jose Mourinho used to do it all the time. He comes into Chelsea. He came back into Chelsea. He had Drogba. He had Eto'o. It's all about having one of your men there, you know. And I think it's important for Maresca to have someone that he can call one of his own.
Well, Joel's team, Arsenal, what about them? Well, Martinelli, lots of talk about his future already this summer, but could he be on his way to Turkey? And there's also a couple of other players who could be moving as part of this deal as well. Here's Ben Jacobs on that story.
So Arsenal fans need to be alert to the possibility of some mutual business. But there's one complication, and that's a certain Gabriel Martinelli, because at the moment he's not sold on a move to Turkey. So as we broke on talkSPORT at the weekend, on Sunday, Galatasaray made a call about Gabriel Martinelli because they were struggling to get Rafa Leao over the line. And subsequently yesterday, first broken by Sky Sports, there was a bid 45 million euros, which I've been able to confirm. And Arsenal haven't rejected it yet. And partially that's down to the fact that Martinelli needs to communicate if he's actually open to the move. And what adds a layer of intrigue here, Joel, is that in addition to talks for Gabriel Martinelli, Ethan Nwaneri is being discussed. And in those same conversations, Victor Osimhen has also come up. So are we now going to see a situation where we get this mutually beneficial two-way business? Arsenal are in the market for an attacker. Julian Alvarez is complicated unless the player agitates for a move, and everyone knows that his top choice is Barcelona. So that one's only going to happen if Atleti say, we'd rather sell outside of La Liga. For Osimhen, it's true that there was a Saudi offer as well in the last few days, but he's usually rebuffed interest long-standing over a couple of windows now from Al Hilal, and maybe the Premier League could become a possibility. Some reports have linked him with Tottenham as well, and maybe finally this is going to be the window where we see Victor Osimhen come to the Premier League. But at this stage, it feels like Osimhen would not be a standalone deal. Martinelli would need some convincing, and Ethan Nwaneri needs to decide what he wants to do, because his pathway for minutes at Arsenal appear limited at the moment.
Well, who better to ask than you, Joel? Martinelli to Turkey and potentially Osimhen to Arsenal. What do you reckon?
I mean, I would take it because Osimhen is a serial goal scorer, you know, and I think we've been missing it for a minute. As much as we've got Victor Gyökeres, if we had the option to have Osimhen up front, oh my goodness.
Do you rate Gyökeres?
I think he's good, you know, but is he elite? No. If you ask me which striker I would like to see out of anyone, if anything, it would be Alvarez. But we know that he favours Barcelona. You know, if he had the option, he goes there. And I'm actually a little bit worried because Ferran Torres leaving Barcelona now, in my opinion, opens the door for Alvarez to go to Barcelona because they're going to need a replacement now.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So, yeah.
Would the signing of Osimhen potentially help Gyökeres?
No. I don't think it would.
You don't think it might get him to sort of almost...
No, because someone like Victor Gyökeres, he was bought to be the main man, you know. When you start coming and you have to start sharing, he's already sharing a position with Havertz, you know, and he's not going to be happy about that. I mean, if you bring in Osimhen now, you could be going one or two games without playing. I don't think that does Gyökeres any good. Personally, I don't care. I want to see the best player at the club. And I think if Osimhen has the opportunity to go there, it'll be great. But I do not think that is the Mikel Arteta type of player.
No.
I really don't.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Do you think with Osimhen, do you think he would still come and pull up trees in the Premier League, or do you think it's maybe a season too late?
No, I think he's still got it. You know, I think he's very demanding. I've seen him with his own teammates, and I've seen him argue with Premier League players as well, you know, for the Nigerian national team. So, no, I think he's a top quality player. Still got a few good seasons left in him. If it happens, great, but I think we're just dreaming at the moment.
Martinelli, it seems for all summer there's been speculation that he would leave, but you said earlier in the show you wouldn't mind seeing him stay at Arsenal fighting for his place in that 11.
I wouldn't. I don't think it should be for Barcola, is what I'm saying. If he's going to move on, bring in someone that's worth bringing in, that's better than Martinelli. Don't sell Martinelli and then you go get another player that finishes just like Martinelli, but he's just a little bit quicker. That doesn't make sense.
Who would you get?
Who would I get? What's the fella for Spain on the left-hand side? Lamine's friend.
Lamine's friend?
Yeah, Yamal's friend. Come on, help us out here. He's just gone out. It's gone out of my head for a minute.
The Spain on Nico Williams.
Nico Williams. For me, really good player. Whether he's starting or he's on the bench, he comes on and he makes really good impact. We saw it during the World Cup. We've seen it during the Euros. We've seen it as well for his club. You know, he looks like he's a dedicated man. He wanted to stay at his club. He signed a new contract when he could have had the chance to leave and go anywhere. He could have gone to Barcelona even, you know, but I think he would be ideal for Arsenal. Really
These are the players that have been made. Nico Williams, we mentioned. Yildiz at Juventus is another one who's been put in the mix as well. We've already spoke about Barcola. We know that Diamande, who was in great demand, has gone to Real Madrid. But
Rafael Leao is still available.
He might. A fresh start might help Rafael Leao.
A fresh start. I mean, we're talking about Rafael Leao and who knows, a random one, Marcus Rashford.
You know what? I'm amazed. I'm amazed that other Premier League clubs aren't having a look, and I think you can only presume it's
the wages. That's the only thing, because we spoke to Jay Motti earlier on. Is he talented? Yes, he is. If you speak to any English player and they talk about technical ability, they always mention Phil Foden and Marcus Rashford. We've seen him do it. Like what Jay said, he scored over 100 goals for Manchester United. There's no question. He's just won La Liga.
Yeah. I guess your question, Joel, before we take a break. Manchester United, Marcus Rashford, he probably doesn't start in that front four because you've got Sesko in the 9, you've got Cunha on left, you've got Mbeumo on the right, and you've got Bruno Fernandes in behind. Does he start for Arsenal? Is he in the 11?
I disagree. I think he actually starts for Manchester United. I think Cunha can come off the bench as he's done so.
Does he start for Arsenal?
Yes, I do. I think you put him on that left-hand side because it's only Martinelli, right? Solis has just come in. He's still, going to have to find his feet. I think he definitely starts for Arsenal.
Okay, Joel, great stuff. Right, plenty more to get through after this break. You're listening to Transfer Insiders. You're listening to talkSPORT. Honestly, I've seen a few messages today and you go, yeah, that O'Hara and Gabby are talking rubbish, need to get rid of them. Rory talks sense. I'm like, having a laugh.
Yeah, that was me. That was me saying that. Yeah. I've been commenting. I've been God, those two have been terrible. Look at those two giggling away.
Brennan Johnson, listen, fair play to him. He had a little bite. And that's fine. Got no problem with a player having a bite back because it's all part and parcel of working in the media, being a footballer. You're going to take criticism. He obviously didn't like the fact we said it was crap for crap. What he didn't realise, and I'm sure...
That's weird of him, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously he's not going to like that. But, it was only a bit of a laugh. But, I get it. People are going to... You get the ump with things. I've been called crap plenty of times. Get called crap every single day of the week. Don't take it personal. All right? It is what it is. He has been crap.
Yeah, I think that's
like,
the point.
I'm sorry, but, I'm not saying he's a bad player. Anyone who plays Premier League football, anyone who does what he's done, fair play. Brilliant. Last season, Brennan Johnson was crap.
Yeah.
He would be the first to admit it. And hopefully he goes to Everton and he does all right. And Dwight McNeil goes the other way. I like Dwight McNeil. I think he's a good player. His stats is what we were talking about on the show, me and Gabby, were crap.
Yeah.
So there's no apology needed. I know Gabby bottled it like he always does.
He blamed you. He said it was you.
He tried to throw me under the bus. Not the first time. Won't be the last. But I'll stand by it.
Yeah.
I think against Brennan Johnson.
I think you're right.
He's got all the attributes to be a decent player.
Yeah, I think
last
you're right.
season he was crap.
This is Transfer Insiders with myself, Pete Graves, and Joel Beya as we continue our whistle-stop tour of today's transfers. The big talking point around Manchester United is whether or not Marcus Rashford is going to stay or will he go. The Stretford Paddock's Jay Motti gave us his thoughts on that story.
I feel like with Marcus, it's up to him. I don't think with Marcus Rashford, there's a question. You look at some players and you go, are they good enough? He is good enough. We know he's good enough. He scored over 100 goals for Manchester United. He scored big goals, some worldy goals for Manchester United. We know he's got the talent. I don't think there's ever been an argument about that. It's whether he's got that desire, that determination to be a success at United. And that sounds crazy for someone that was, a sort of boiled United fan that came through the academy. But if things are going really well at United, you don't go out on loan, no disrespect to Aston Villa, when you're 26, 27 years old. You don't go out on loan again if things are going really well. There was obviously a bit of an issue as to whether he really wanted to be at Manchester United, whether he was doing the things that you need from a Manchester United player, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. He had obviously an issue with Ruben Amorim, and even before that, there was a couple of issues with Erik ten Hag. So Manchester United and Marcus Rashford are making the right noises. The noises are he wants to be there. He's looking all right in training. I think your pal Rio Ferdinand's been there to see him. So everything looks all right, but we won't know, I don't think anyway, until probably the game against Hull.
Joel, you just threw Marcus Rashford's name into a player that you wouldn't mind seeing maybe at Arsenal. But do you see him having a successful season at Manchester United this season, or do you think it's probably gone too far with regards to his relationship there at Old Trafford?
I think it's all to do with the fans. I mean, Jay says that it's up to him, and to an extent he's right. But I also think the fans have a massive deal to play in that massive role to play in that. I mean, my worry is if he misses a one-on-one chance.
Yes.
How do the fans react? How does Jay react? No, I love Jay, I really do. But it's for me, I feel like it got so toxic at the end. It was best for both parties for him to move on. And I think they did it successfully. I think the only reason why they're back in this situation is not necessarily because Marcus Rashford wants to come back and prove his point at Manchester United or because the manager wanted him back. It's because of the wages. So no one's out there for him. If there were teams that were out there for him, they would have parted ways. But I feel like they're in this situation where Carrick's probably the closest person that can bring the best out of him. He understands him, he gets it. It's Manchester United DNA, it makes sense.
Yes.
But at the same time, I just think if he has a run of 2 or 3 bad games or he doesn't score, the fans are gonna be on him. And how's Marcus Rashford's demeanour then gonna be? We saw him before, he didn't want to talk to press, whereas when he's in a country like Spain and he's not necessarily the main man, or even when he's in the England camp and he's not necessarily the main man, he seems to be getting on with his work, and that's what he wants to do.
I totally agree with you. I think it's right for so many players. Like the fans can make or break a player so early in the season, can't they? And if all the supporters get behind him, although I do understand the argument from a lot of Manchester United fans who have been ringing talkSPORT and saying, as far as they're concerned, it's too late for Marcus Rashford to rebuild his time at the club. But if he starts well, scores a couple of goals, things can quickly turn in football, can't they? And look, I mean, he's got a squad number, albeit it's not his usual number 10. I think he's got the number 14, but that would suggest that he's in Carrick's plans. It's not like they've given him the number 56 or something.
I think Carrick needs him in his plans because Carrick doesn't have a lot of players. If you're going to get rid of Marcus Rashford, you then have to go out and get a player who can do what Marcus Rashford does. And in this current climate, that's not very easy to find. You're talking about a La Liga winner. You're talking about someone who scored 100+ goals at Manchester United. You're talking about an England international. You're talking about someone who's very capable of playing the Premier League, knows the Premier League inside out. You don't have a lot of time to get that work done. So I think it's in Carrick's best interest that he keeps him.
I saw Rashford play for Barcelona at St James's Park in the Champions League.
He was fantastic, wasn't he?
2 unbelievable.
Was it 2 goals, was it?
Unbelievable goals.
Remember the one where he smashed it?
Oh, yes. Incredible. Both of the goals were world class. You see certain moments, don't you? You see it all the time at Arsenal, right? It's just a flash. That night, Rashford was absolutely brilliant. It was like he was back in England with a point to prove. If Manchester United get that player this season, honestly, he'll be incredible, and the fans will quickly get on side.
The only question is the fact that we keep saying if United get this player, if Arsenal get that player. I challenge Marcus Rashford to just stay consistent. We know you've got it. Just stay consistent, because I think for me, a player who's bursted into the scene, the way Michael Richards says it, bursted into the scene with such promise, scoring in Europe, then scoring on his Premier League debut against Arsenal. I remember, I was there, and then scoring as well on his England debut as well. Yeah. It's a sad story if we don't end up respecting his career once the lights go out.
There's still chapters to write for Marcus Rashford. It'll be fascinating to see this season. Joel, come on, let's bring things to a close by talking about your club, Arsenal. You said right at the top that you expect them to go back to back, but there are clubs who are going to be sniffing. There's no doubt about it. City, new manager, Maresca's come in there, clearly a top coach. Chelsea, 1 game a week. Xabi Alonso, and let's not forget as well, Andoni Areola's come in at Liverpool, Spurs making their way back up. You've talked about Carrick and Manchester United. All of these clubs I'm reeling off, but your face don't change. The confidence is unreal. I can see it coming out of you.
Don't matter who you name, my answer to you is no stability, no stability, no stability, no stability, no stability. And what I mean by that is they're still finding their way. All of these other teams that you've mentioned, they're all still finding their way.
Any of them keeping you up at night?
None whatsoever. I'll tell you what, I'm probably more worried about Villa than I am for the majority of those other teams. And I think we need to start mentioning them a little bit more. The only reason why I don't is because of Gabby. But in general, I think Manchester City will be the closest, because if you look at their squad, it is, yes, Rodri might go, etc. And there's 1 or 2 changes, but they still have a decent squad. And let's not forget, they got Erling Haaland up front. We've done a whole show and we haven't mentioned him because he's not going anywhere. I get it. But we have to respect that team and remember who he is, But when you look at Manchester City, I think Maresca's, the best thing he does is his relationship with the players. If he can strike that relationship that he had with Cucurella, that he had with Enzo at Chelsea, that he had with Caicedo, that he had with Cole Palmer, I think that Manchester City will be in good hands. They're not going to be serial winners like they were with Pep, but they're still going to be in and around.
Does Enzo Fernandez at Manchester City make you lose more sleep if they do get that one over the line?
No.
No? Because they'll be losing Rodri.
They'll be losing Rodri, and also, again, we're just clear at the moment, man. When you look at Mikel, I think he's in his bag at the moment. He's had 3 previous seasons coming second. He's beaten Maresca quite a few times. He knows what he has to do, man. And I think that, when you're a Premier League winner, it just changes it. Can you imagine? I'll give it to you. Declan Rice walking in first day pre-season, which he did. Premier League champion. Bukayo Saka walks in. You second? Nah, mate. Premier League champion. That makes a huge difference. So even if you've got those other players some of them have got more medals, but end of the day, you're a Premier League champion and you're a recent Premier League
quadruple,
mate. Always, always a quadruple.
I knew you were going to say that. It's been an absolute pleasure, Joel. Thanks so much for your company.
You've done very well, sir, on your first outing here on talkSPORT.
Thank you, sir. I thought we were a great partnership, but
we did all
it's
right.
Been great to sit alongside you, mate. Thank you so much. Thanks to everyone who's been listening tonight as well. Plenty more to come here on talkSPORT, though, of course, because coming up next we have the Sports Bar. Everyone's favourite show, isn't it? And we're going to have Jason Cundy and Rory Jennings in the studio. Get in touch with them. 03717 22 33 44. Sports Bar is next.
Another 1 or 2 players in Man United in with a shout at the title. What do you think, Gabby?
No, I think Champions League will take a lot out of that squad of players. I look at right backs, Mazraoui, Dalot, not good enough. Centre backs, they need cover there as well. Shesko, listen, he done okay last season, double figures. He's got to be at it this season. They've got a very good squad of players, Jeff, but if they don't get 2 or 3 top players in certain roles, I don't think they can fight for the title. I think top 4 again. and get out the group stage of the Champions League. It'll be a very good season.
Yeah, I mean, they've not been too busy in the transfer market, to say the least. They've brought in Yuri Tielemans, they've brought in Andre Santos. Ben Foster thinks one of those is the signing of the summer.
I still think Yuri Tielemans is the signing so far.
What a better business that is.
What a bit of business.
Yeah.
Honestly, I genuinely still think I'm watching a load of transfers happen, and Tottenham spending a lot of money, and Arsenal just spent a lot of money. I still think Yuri Tielemans is the signing of the summer so far for 30-odd million quid, whatever it was. He is a ready-made, good-to-go starting 11 player, and I think if you can spend £30 million on a ready-to-go starter, it is worth every single penny.
Yeah. And I agree with him. I think Yuri Tielemans is going to be one of the signings of the summer. But when I look at that midfield, talent is Tielemans and Bruno, Meno and Andre Santos. That's just too thin on the ground, isn't it? They need more than that.
Players get injured as well. And where's their real defensive midfielder? I know Andre Santos has been brought in for that role, but he didn't pull up any trees at Chelsea, did he? Where's their, got Bouba Kamara? You look at Anderson, Gravenberch.